Hello there, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. This is your time to slow down, let go of the day, and sink into a moment of peace. Tonight, I'll be sharing a gentle bedtime story, crafted to help your mind unwind and your body relax. Picture a quiet evening, soft rain tapping on the window, and the comforting warmth of a cozy room. As the story unfolds, you'll feel the weight of the day drift away, leaving only calm and stillness. So find a comfortable spot, take a deep breath, and let the soothing rhythm of the words guide you toward rest. When you're ready, let's begin. The sound of the church bell pulls you from uneasy sleep before dawn. Its hollow clang seeps through the timber walls of your cottage, vibrating through the thin straw mattress that clings to your bones like damp cloth. The air bites your face as you open your eyes, breath blooming into a pale mist. The fire in the hearth died hours ago. Your fingers, stiff from the night's frost, fumble for the coarse wool tunic hanging on the peg by the door. It scratches your skin as you pull it over your linen shirt, still sour with yesterday's sweat. The smell of smoke, sweat, and old rushes clings to everything. Your bed, your clothes, even your hair. Your stomach churns in its emptiness. There is no bread left from yesterday. The round loaf you baked 2 days ago was gone by last night, shared between you, your wife, and the 2 children still huddled under the patched blanket by the hearth. Their faces are pale, noses reddened by the cold. You glance at them, then at the sack in the corner. Only a few handfuls of barley remain. Lent has begun, so even if meat were in reach, you would not taste it. Today, you will need to grind more grain, perhaps barter for a little rye, with Osric, the miller's son, though you know he will demand something in return. Labor, most likely. Always labor. Outside, the morning breathes fog over the frozen ground. You pull the wooden latch, and the door groans like an old ox as you push it open. Mud sucks at your boots the moment you step out, mixed with shards of ice from the night frost. The smell of dung drifts from the byre where your only cow shivers, ribs sharp beneath her hide. You run a hand down her flank, whispering words you don't believe. If she dies, the winter will finish you. Her milk is thin, hardly enough for the children, but it is all you have. The bell rings again, summoning the village to mass. You sling a cloak over your shoulders, heavy with damp, and trudge toward the church, its wooden spire cutting through the gray sky. Along the path, shapes emerge from the mist. Neighbors, bent figures swaddled in wool, some barefoot despite the frost. They nod without warmth. There is no warmth to spare. Each carries their own hunger, their own tally of debts owed to the reeve and the Lord Steward. The church smells of smoke and tallow candles. You kneel on the hard floor, breath mingling with others in clouds of human dampness. Father Aldwine chants in Latin, words you cannot follow but dare not ignore. Your knees ache, but you do not shift. The steward is here today, near the altar, his fur-lined mantle marking him as a man who eats even in winter. You keep your head bowed, though you feel his eyes sweeping the congregation like a blade. After Mass, the steward speaks of taxes. The Lord demands more grain this year, he says, for the king's levy and repairs to the castle wall. Murmurs ripple like dry reeds, then die when his gaze hardens. You know what it means. Fewer meals, longer days in the fields once the thaw comes. Your back, already knotted from years of toil, seems to shrink at the thought. But you nod with the others, because nodding is safer than words. You walk back through the slush, past cottages crouched low against the wind, thatched roofs sagging under damp. Smoke curls from a few chimneys, thin, weak smoke. Hunger grips you sharper now, but there is no food waiting, only the grinding stone and a handful of barley. You kneel by the quern, hands raw as you turn the stone, grain cracking under your weight. Dust fills your throat, clings to your lips. When the flour is ready, you mix it with water and salt, shaping coarse cakes to bake on the hearthstone. The fire fights you, refusing to catch, until you coax it with splinters and breath that feels stolen from your lungs. The children wake and pad toward you, faces smudged, eyes too large in their hollow cheeks. They watch the cakes blacken at the edges, and you divide them into 4 uneven pieces. You chew slowly, making the hard crust last, though it scrapes your gums. The taste is bitter, but it fills the ache for now. For now. Outside, the fog lifts to reveal the fields. Stubbled earth, brittle and gray. Soon, you will walk them with a wooden plow, ox straining against the frost-hardened soil. Your life measured in furrows, your breath in clouds, your flesh in blisters. You think of summer warmth, of green shoots and buzzing flies, and it feels like a dream too distant to believe. A sound cuts through the stillness, the clatter of hooves. You step to the doorway as a rider approaches, the steward's color snapping on his shoulder. He reins in, mud spattering your legs, and his voice is as cold as the wind when he speaks your name. Tomorrow, you must join the corvée, repairing the Lord's road, hauling stone from the riverbank. No refusal, no payment. You watch him gallop away, and the weight settles like a millstone between your shoulders. Tomorrow will not bring bread, nor peace, nor warmth. Only more frost, more mud, more lash of labor. Your hands clench at your sides, nails biting skin, but you let the breath go slow, because there is no other way. Not for you. The sky darkens before the day feels spent, and as you step back inside, the smell of smoke and barley ash greets you like an old foe. You sit by the hearth, listening to the wind claw at the shutters, and the thought flickers unbidden. If this is life, what then is mercy? The latch rattles. A shadow moves across the door. You freeze, pulse hammering. For in this village, after dark, shadows seldom bring good news. The door opens without a knock, wood groaning as the cold rushes in. A figure stoops beneath the lintel. Osric, the miller's son, his bulk filling the room, his cloak crusted with frozen mud. His breath curls white in the dim light, and his eyes gleam like wet stones as they sweep across your hearth. Your wife crouched near the children, the meager scraps of barley ash clinging to the iron pot. He does not greet you. He never does. You've grain yet? His voice is low, but the weight of it presses like a hand on your neck. You shake your head, though the truth lies in the small sack tucked behind the bench. He sniffs, steps closer, boots leaving black prints on your floor. The mill will turn soon. The thaw's coming. Best you bring what you have, or you'll not see flour for a fortnight. His meaning is clear. The mill takes its share, and Osric takes more than most. You nod again, slow, because what else is there? His gaze lingers a moment longer, hard as a whetstone, before he turns and leaves, the latch dropping with a hollow thud. You hear his boots crunch away through the slush until only the wind remains, hissing through the thatch. Your wife looks at you, eyes dulled by the same hunger gnawing your own belly. She says nothing. Words cost breath, and breath is dear in a room this cold. You sit by the hearth, rubbing your hands until blood stirs sluggishly beneath the skin. Beyond the walls, night gathers, thick, heavy, blind. The wind hunts down every crack, every gap in the wattle and daub, prying with icy fingers. The cow lows once in the byre, a sound like grief. Sleep comes in pieces, broken by the crying of your youngest and the hiss of the wind. When dawn drags its gray body across the sky, you rise stiff as a frozen plank. Your wife wraps a rag around your hands as you shoulder the empty sack. The barley goes in, what remains of it, and you tie the mouth with cord worn smooth by years of want. The mill waits, and Osric waits with it. The path to the river is slick with thawing frost, mud sucking like a hungry mouth at your boots. The air smells of rot, old leaves loosed by the melt, dung seeping from heaps long frozen. The trees stand black and skeletal against the whitening sky, their branches clutching like fingers. You pass the Reeves house, its timber walls straight, its thatch tight against the wind. Smoke rises from its chimney in a fat blue column that speaks of bacon on the hearth. Your jaw tightens, and you look away. The mill squats by the river bend, its wheel frozen still, rim laced with ice like a knight's mail. The door stands open, dark as a wound. Inside, the smell of old grain and damp wood wraps you like a shroud. Osric waits near the grinding stones, his arms bare despite the cold, hair bristling on flesh as red as raw meat. His grin cuts like a blade when he sees you. You've brought it. He reaches, weighs the sack in his hand, lips curling when he feels the lightness of it. Not much. His eyes flick to yours, and there is something in them. Mockery, hunger, a promise. The mill takes its toll. He spills the grain on the table, fingers sifting through the pale kernels. You'll have your flour, but the river path needs clearing. Ice broke the bank near the weir. You'll work when the bell rings. He does not ask. He does not need to. You nod, throat tight. The toll grinds deeper than the stones. Your hours, your marrow, your strength ground fine and scattered like chaff. Osric watches you gather the flour into the sack, his grin lingering as though he knows the shape of your thoughts. When you turn to go, his voice follows, low and thick as pitch. Bring your ox when the thaw deepens. We'll need the beast. Outside, the sky hangs low and iron gray. The river gurgles beneath its crust, black water writhing like something trapped and furious. You start back, sack heavy on your shoulder, boots sinking deep in mire. Behind you, the wheel creaks once, slow and hollow, like the groan of a dying giant. By the time you reach your door, your arms burn, and your breath rasps in your chest. Inside, the air tastes of smoke and old tallow. The children watch you from their corner, faces pinched with waiting. You set the sack down, shake the damp from your cloak, and kneel by the hearth. The fire stirs under your breath, coughing sparks into the gloom. When the first cake hisses on the iron, a thin thread of warmth coils in your gut. Not hope, never hope, but something that keeps your hands from shaking. Night falls with a swiftness that feels like theft. You eat in silence, the bitter bread grinding like gravel between your teeth. The wind prowls beyond the walls, rattling the shutter latch like a restless soul. When you lie down on the straw, the weight of the day presses hard on your bones. You close your eyes, but the dark is not empty. It swarms with thoughts that have no words, shapes that twist and leer in the hollows of your mind. You dream of fields drowned in mud, of oxen sunk to their bellies, of a wheel that turns and turns, grinding not grain, but flesh. When you wake, the fire is ash, and the cold has teeth. The bell rings before the sky has color. Its sound is iron dragged across your nerves. You rise, body heavy as sodden cloth, and step into the morning that smells of thaw and rot. The path to the river yawns wide in your thoughts, and the weight of Osric's grin clings like grease to your skin. Ahead lies the bank, the broken ice, the labor waiting like an open wound. Behind, a cottage of mud and timber where smoke coils thin as a dying breath. Between them, only you, and the hunger that follows like a hound. You walk. But with each step, the world feels heavier, as though the sky itself were bending to crush you. And in the hollow of that weight, a thought flickers, small, bright, and terrible. How many more winters can flesh endure? The river waits like a gray serpent, its spine broken where the ice has cracked. Chunks of white float on the black current, grinding against one another with a hollow moan. You stand on the bank, the wind clawing through your cloak, biting your ears until they burn. The smell of wet earth and rotting reeds fills your mouth as if you've bitten into the thaw itself. Others are already there, figures hunched like beasts, shoulders bowed beneath the weight of ropes and poles. Steam coils from their mouths, pale ghosts fleeing their bodies with every breath. You take your place among them without a word. Words have no place here. They freeze before they leave the lips. The steward stands on the rise, cloak snapping in the wind, his boots clean despite the muck. He points with a gloved hand toward the splintered remains of the weir, timbers thrusting from the river like ribs of some drowned giant. "Clear it," he says, his voice sharp as the wind. "By sundown." You grip the pole Osric thrusts into your hands, its wood slick and cold as bone. Then the labor begins. The river resists, every piece of ice a weight that drags against the current, every branch a clawed hand that will not let go. You thrust, heave, drag, your muscles screaming until sound is a memory. Mud seeps through your boots, clutches your ankles with icy fingers. The wind lashes your back, howls in your ears like a starving wolf. Time becomes nothing but the rhythm of strain and breath, the thud of timber against timber, the cold that creeps like poison up your limbs. By midday, your tunic clings to your skin, soaked with sweat and thaw. Your hands are raw, palms split where the pole bit deep. Blood beads and freezes before it can fall. You do not stop. None of you do. The steward watches, eyes like chips of iron, the promise of punishment hanging heavier than the sky. The Lord's road must hold. The river must bend to his will. And so you bend, until your spine feels carved from stone. When the sun sinks like a wounded coin behind the trees, the last of the ice grinds free. The weir stands half-shattered, water gurgling darkly through its wounds. The steward nods once, as though the breaking of your bodies were nothing but a duty done. He turns his horse without a word, cloak flaring black against the dying light. Hooves drum away through the mire, and with that sound goes the last illusion that this day belonged to you. The others drift off in silence, shapes melting into the fog. You shoulder your empty sack, though its weight is nothing compared to the iron in your bones. The path home crawls beneath your feet, slick and treacherous, roots clutching like old hands through the mud. The forest looms close, its branches interlaced like the fingers of thieves. Somewhere, an owl calls, a sound long and hollow, and the hair rises at the nape of your neck. By the time your cottage squats in the gloom, darkness has swallowed the world. Smoke seeps from the thatch, thin as breath. Inside, the air is thick with the sour tang of boiled roots. Your wife ladles a thin gruel into a wooden bowl, sets it before you without lifting her eyes. The children huddle near the hearth, their limbs knotted like roots, their faces pale moons in the flicker of flame. You eat without tasting. The gruel slides down like mud, settles in your belly like a stone. When the bowl is empty, hunger still gnaws, a rat that never sleeps. You strip in silence, laying your damp tunic by the fire, and lower yourself onto the straw. Every joint protests, every muscle hums with pain. The thatch whispers in the wind, and the latch rattles like a loose tooth. Sleep steals over you slow as frost, but it is no mercy. It drags you into dreams sharp as a scythe, dreams of ropes that bind, of wheels that turn, of a mouth that grinds bone to dust. When you wake, the dark still clings to the rafters. The fire is a sullen glow, its last embers crouched like dying eyes. The air tastes of ashes and cold breath. For a moment, you lie still, listening. And then you hear it. the hollow tread of boots outside, muffled voices like bees in a jar, the sound of authority, the sound that cracks the spine of sleep. You rise, pull your cloak around your shoulders, and open the door to the bite of dawn. 2 men stand in the yard, faces shadowed by hoods, the steward's badge stitched like a wound on their sleeves. Behind them waits a cart, its wheels sunk deep in the mire. One of the men jerks his chin toward it. The Lord calls for levies. He says, "The bridge needs stone. Come." Your tongue thickens against your teeth, but you swallow the words that burn there. To refuse is to vanish. To vanish is to leave your children cold and your wife hollow-eyed by an empty hearth. So you nod, slow, and step into the mud, feeling its teeth close around your boots. The men turn, and you follow, the world narrowing to the churn of wheels and the whisper of ropes coiled like snakes. The road stretches ahead, a black ribbon through the corpse-gray fields. Frost clings to the stubble like a rash, and the sky hangs low, swollen with snow. Somewhere beyond the trees, the castle waits, its towers crouched like fangs against the clouds. You have never walked those halls. You never will. But your hands will shape its bones, your breath will mortar its stones, and your life will leach into its walls until no trace of you remains. The cart creaks, the ropes sway, and the thought comes unbidden. You are no man. You are timber, to be hewn. You are stone, to be laid. And in the marrow of that truth, a hollow opens, deep and cold as the river. You do not look back. The road drags on like an endless wound, sucking the strength from your legs with every step. Mud clings to your boots, heavy as lead, until it feels as though the earth itself wants to swallow you whole. The men ahead speak little, their voices carried thin on the wind, threads of sound that vanish before you catch their meaning. Above, the sky is a sheet of dull pewter, pressing low, swollen with a storm that waits like a clenched fist. Crows wheel in the distance, black shards against the gray. Hours pass. The land rises, slopes patched with thickets and stones slick with frost. When the castle appears, it does so without grandeur. No dream of banners and shining walls, only cold teeth of limestone biting into the hill. Its towers thrust skyward like broken spears, their edges gnawed by rain and time. Smoke coils from narrow chimneys, thin and bitter as burned bone. At its base, the yard swarms with men like ants on carrion, their shouts sharp as steel on stone. You are led through the gate, its timbers bristling with iron studs blackened by rust. The portcullis looms overhead, teeth slick with damp, and for a moment, you feel them close in your mind, grinding shut like a trap. Inside, the yard churns with life, oxen steaming in the cold, carts groaning beneath stone blocks, men bent double beneath beams that seem to break the air itself. The smell is a fist of things: dung, sweat, wet hides, and smoke that claws the back of your throat. The steward finds you in the press, his cloak fur-lined, his boots clean despite the filth. His eyes sweep you like a blade, cutting you down to size without a word. Then, his voice comes, flat and hard as hammered iron. The quarry waits. The bridge will not build itself. A jerk of his head, and 2 men seize your arms, not roughly, but with the weight of command, and steer you toward another cart laden with ropes and picks. You climb aboard, body heavy as sodden timber, and the wheels lurch forward with a groan that might be your own bones. The path to the quarry winds through the hills, a scar cut deep by centuries of taking. By the time you reach it, the light is bleeding from the sky, staining the clouds with bruises of purple and gray. The pit yawns before you like a mouth hacked in the earth, its walls streaked with veins of pale stone that gleam faintly in the gloom. Men swarm across its ledges, swinging hammers that ring like funeral bells, prying blocks loose with levers as thick as your arm. Shouts echo from the depths, warped by the hollow, until they sound less than human. You are given a pick, its handle worn smooth by hands, like yours, and pointed to a ledge where frost glitters like salt in the fading light. Then the work begins. The stone resists you like a living thing, every blow of the pick sending a shudder up your arms until your bones feel hollow as reeds. Chips sting your face, bite into your skin like icy gnats. The cold seeps deeper with every breath, gnawing the marrow, curling its claws into your gut. Sweat slicks your back despite the wind, freezes when it meets the air, sheathing you in a crust of salt and ice. Night folds over the quarry like a black wing, but the work does not stop. Torches gutter in the wind, smearing the walls with greasy light, and shadows leap like devils across the stone. Your arms are lead now, your breath a rasp that scrapes your throat raw. Hunger coils in your belly, sharp and hollow. But there is no food, no pause, only the endless rhythm of strike and crack, until your hands are raw meat and your thoughts blur into darkness. When at last the overseer calls the halt, his voice is no louder than the whisper of death. You drop the pick and stand swaying, the world tilting like a boat on a black sea. The men drift toward a lean-to where smoke snakes from a low fire. You follow, though every step feels stolen from some other life. Inside, the air is thick with the stench of wet wool and bodies. A pot hangs over the fire, steam coiling from its mouth. Thin broth, gray as ditch water. A scrap of bread hard as bone. You take your share in silence, crouch by the flames, and eat like an animal, teeth grinding against the crust, until your gums bleed. Outside, the wind keens over the pit. A voice like grief. You pull your cloak tight, though it does nothing, and curl on the frozen earth beneath the lean-to. The straw beneath you is damp, riddled with lice that creep over your skin like living needles. You close your eyes, but sleep is a blade, cutting you in and out of darkness. You dream of stone walls closing like jaws, of hands clawing from the earth, of a river that runs black with men's sweat and blood. When dawn pries its pale fingers through the clouds, you rise with a groan that feels torn from your spine. The fire is ash, the broth gone, the air sharp as broken glass. The overseer's shout snaps the dawn like a whip. Back to the pit, back to the stone. Your legs move because they must, not because they will. Your hands close around the pick because to refuse is death, and death is a mercy you cannot choose. The day grinds on, slower than the wheel of heaven, heavier than the stone you break. The sky spits sleet that needles your flesh, trickles down your back in icy threads. Your breath smokes in the air, curls like ghosts between your cracked lips. Each blow of the pick is a prayer without words, a plea hammered into the heart of the world. Let it end. Let it end. But it does not end. Not for you. Not here. And as the sun sinks again, bleeding red through the skein of cloud, a thought coils through your skull like a serpent, cold and soft and certain. This land owns you. Body and soul, bone and breath. It owns you. And there is no ransom. The sleet turns to snow in the night, thick flakes spinning through the blackness like ash from some unseen pyre. By dawn, the quarry is buried under a crust of white that glitters cruelly in the pale light. For an instant, it almost seems beautiful, as if the earth had dressed its wounds in linen. But beauty feeds no belly and softens no stone. The overseer's cry snaps you back to truth, a voice harsh as iron on frost. Up! Work waits! Your body protests with every movement, joints stiff as rusted hinges, muscles bound in knots of pain. You rise because you must, because the lash sleeps coiled in the overseer's hand like a serpent dreaming of your flesh. The pick feels heavier this morning, its handle frozen slick, and your fingers cling to it as if to a lifeline, though you know it binds you deeper to the pit. The wind lashes your face as you descend the ledge, a knife honed on the edge of the world. Below, the men are already at it, hammers ringing like funeral bells, sparks of sound flaring and dying in the hollow throat of the quarry. Breath steams in plumes from their mouths, wreathing their heads like the ghosts of all who swung steel here before. You join them, and the rhythm swallows you whole. Lift, swing, strike. The stone answers with its mute defiance, giving only splinters, mocking the smallness of your strength against its ageless bones. Hours crawl like worms through meat. Hunger gnaws with a duller tooth now, its edge worn by habit, but thirst burns like lime in your throat. The water bucket passes, a rim of ice thick on its lip. You drink without tasting, lips cracking, hands trembling as you pass it on. Your breath rasps, lungs raw from the cold, and when you cough, the taste of iron blooms on your tongue. You swallow it down, for blood means nothing here. Not when the stones still stand. By midday, the sky darkens again, bruised clouds swelling like rotting fruit. Snow begins to fall thick and fast, cloaking the pit in a shroud of white. The torches sputter and die, their light devoured by the storm. Still, the overseer drives you on, voice cracking like a whip through the swirling dark. Your arms move as if by sorcery, a grim enchantment binding bone and sinew to the will of the lash. You no longer feel the weight of the pick, only its hunger for flesh as it chews your palms raw. When at last the cry comes to halt, it is no blessing, only a shifting of misery. The men drift toward the lean-to like shades returning to the grave. You follow, head bent, snow crusting in your beard, in the seams of your cloak, in the hollows of your lashes. Inside, the fire guttering in the hearth is no more than a sullen glow, its warmth a cruel jest. The broth is thinner tonight, a gray smear of water in a wooden bowl. The bread is gone. You sip the liquid, scalding your cracked lips, and it settles in your gut like a pebble dropped in an empty well. Night presses close, heavy with the stink of damp wool and unwashed flesh. Men cough in the dark, a rasping chorus that saws at the edges of sleep. Lice creep in the straw, their tiny jaws tickling your skin, and you slap at them until your palms sting. When you close your eyes, the quarry rises behind them, vast and hollow, its walls crawling with shadows that swing and strain and fall like marionettes, whose strings are pulled by an unseen hand. You wake with a start, heart hammering, breath frosting the black air. The fire is dead. The cold gnaws like a wolf at your bones. The next day dawns sickly and dim, light seeping through a sky the color of curdled milk. The snow has stopped, but its silence clings, muffling the world to a hush that feels like the pause before a blade falls. You trudge back to the pit, boots crunching in the crust, breath smoking like a soul fleeing your body. The overseer waits, his hood rimed with frost, eyes glittering like chips of flint. He does not speak. He does not need to. The lash hanging at his belt speaks enough. The work begins anew. Picks bite stone, sledges fall, sledges rise, and time becomes a grinding wheel that chews the hours to dust. Your shoulders burn, your wrists throb, but worse is the ache in your spine. A slow, deep agony that feels as though the earth itself were curling its fist around your bones. You pause once, just once, leaning on the pick. Breath clawing at your throat. The lash whispers through the air and kisses your back with a stripe of fire. You stagger, bite blood from your lip, and swing again. Always again. When the light dies, You are nothing but ache and emptiness. You stumble toward the lean-to, snow crunching underfoot, stars pricking the black sky like nails hammered through velvet. Hunger coils in your belly, sharp and hollow. But tonight, there is no broth, no crust, only a skin of ice in the pot, and the overseer's voice like gravel in your ear. Stone first, bellies later. You curl on the straw, teeth rattling, the taste of your own blood sour on your tongue. The wind keens through the gaps like a ghost without rest. Sleep comes like a thief, stealing reason first. Then breath. Then all but the pounding of your heart against the dark. You dream of walls closing in, of a bridge rising from your bones. It spans slick with frost and death. You dream of the river beneath, black and patient, whispering promises in a tongue older than men. When you wake, the whisper is still there. And for the first time, you wonder if it calls you by name. The morning smells of iron and wet stone. A fog coils low across the ground, thick as unwashed wool, swallowing the shapes of men as they move through it like shades summoned to a common doom. You rise slow, every limb leaden, your spine curved as if the night pressed a millstone on your back. Frost stiffens your cloak, clings like a rind of glass to the wool. Your breath ghosts in the gray, curling into nothing as soon as it's born. The overseer's shout rips the mist like a blade. His figure looms black on the rise, the lash dangling from his fist with the lazy menace of something alive. You shoulder your pick and join the line without a word. Words have no place here. They froze weeks ago and fell like shards to the quarry floor. Now only breath remains, and the sound of stones surrendering in splinters. Down into the pit you go, down into the earth's black mouth where the walls sweat frost and echo with the groan of labor. The torches burn low, their light thick and greasy, painting your skin in strokes of shadow and flame. The stone waits, pale and pitiless, veined with scars of iron where men have hacked and pried and bled their strength into its bones. You swing until your arms blur, until your breath rasps like a saw against your ribs, until the pick's bite becomes the only sound that anchors you to flesh. By mid-morning, your hands are raw meat, the blisters burst and bleeding, the blood stiffening to black crusts that crack with every grip. The wind keens down the shaft, needling your ears, stirring the stink of sweat and damp wool and fear. Men cough in the gloom, harsh, tearing sounds that speak of lungs rotting slow from cold and dust. One drops his hammer, staggers, vomits a thin stream of bile onto the stones. The overseer drags him up by the hood and flings him toward the ledge, voice a lash of rage. Stand or starve. The man stumbles back to the line, swaying like a felled sapling, eyes dull as river mud. You work on, because what else is there? The Lord does not see you, the saints do not hear you, and the earth gives nothing but stone. Stone for bridges, stone for keeps, stone to bind you to a world that gnaws the marrow from your bones. Your thoughts shrink to the rhythm of the pick, the shock of iron on rock, the tremor up your arms until it feels as though your own skeleton were shattering with every stroke. The light crawls slow across the pit, a sickly smear that fades before it ever warms. Snow begins to fall again, fine as sifted flour, sifting down into the depths, melting on your skin with kisses cold as steel. It clings to your lashes, blurs the edges of the world, softens the harsh lines of the stone until all is white. 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 Except the blood that freckles the shards at your feet. Your blood. His blood. Every man's blood, soaking into the earth like tithe. When the halt comes, it is not mercy, but necessity. The torches are stubs, the sleet thick as wool, the pit a throat swallowing the last scraps of light. You shoulder your pick and climb, boots slipping on the ice-crusted rungs, breath sawing from your chest like a bellows worked by a dying hand. At the rim, the wind strikes like a fist, slamming tears from your eyes, freezing them before they fall. You pull your hood low and stumble toward the lean-to, the promise of warmth no more than a whisper of smoke against the dark. Inside, the fire sulks in the hearth, a heap of embers coughing sparks like blood. The men crowd close, shadows bent like question marks, faces hollow as famine bowls. The pot hangs empty, its bottom black with scum. No broth tonight. The bread that might have been is a ghost in your gut, a memory with teeth. You lower yourself to the straw, every joint screaming, and pull the cloak around you, though it might as well be mist. Hunger crouches inside you like a wolf with its jaws at your spine. You can hear it breathing when the wind lulls. Sleep comes in shards, slicing your mind to ribbons. You dream of stone faces grinning in the dark, of walls that rise and rise until they blot out the sky, of a river curling like a black snake beneath a bridge of bones. You dream of falling, always falling, and at the bottom waits a mouth that opens wider than the pit, lined with teeth of ice, whispering in a tongue older than the hills. You wake with a start, heart hammering, lungs clawing at the cold air. The fire is ash, the lean-to silent but for the hiss of snow against the roof. You lie still, listening, and in the hush you hear it, a sound soft as breath, close as thought, not wind, not dream, a whisper, winding like smoke through the rafters. It coils in your ear, curls around your skull, and settles there like a worm in an apple. It says your name. You sit up, fists clenched in the straw. But there is nothing, only the black, and the cold, and the snow's soft mutter on the roof. Yet the whisper lingers in your bones, an echo that will not die. You tell yourself it was a dream. Hunger, weariness, the fever that gnaws men hollow in these pits. But when you close your eyes again, it comes back, soft, slow, patient as the earth. And for the first time, you are afraid not of death, but of something older, something that waits beneath the stone you break. Dawn comes, like a bruise spreading across the sky, purple at the edges, sickly yellow where the sun struggles through. The snow has stopped, but its silence lingers, heavy as a curse. You rise stiff and slow, every joint thick with pain, and pull your cloak tight, though the cold has already nested in your bones. Around you, men stir like corpses roused from shallow graves. Gray faces, hollow eyes, breath smoking in ragged plumes. No one speaks. There is nothing to say that hunger and frost have not already said 1,000 times. The overseer's call slices through the hush, sharp as a hawk's cry. You shoulder the pick, fingers stiff and cracked, and follow the shuffle of boots toward the pit. The snow crunches underfoot, crusted hard as a burial mound. The wind has stilled, but the cold is worse for it. A dead weight pressing against your chest, creeping through every seam, every rent in the wool. Your breath rasps, brittle as frost, and when you swallow, your throat feels lined with glass. Down you go, down into the quarry's gut where the torches gutter and the stone sweats black. The air is thick with the reek of toil. Sweat gone sour. Damp wool. Blood seeping slow from split hands. The picks bite in rhythm. Iron jaws worrying at the earth's bones. And the sound gnaws at your skull until thought itself is worn thin. You fall into the cadence. Lift, swing, strike. Because to stop is to draw the lash. And the lash is quicker than hunger, sharper than winter. Hours crawl like worms through meat. The sleet returns by midday, needling your flesh, worming cold fingers down your spine. Your cloak clings sodden to your back, dragging at your limbs until each swing feels like lifting the weight of the world. The stone mocks you with its silence, gives only splinters, grudging as a miser with his last coin. Your hands are raw to the bone now, nails black with clots, blisters weeping through the crust of blood. Every breath is a theft, stolen from the frost that waits with patient jaws. When the call for halt comes, it is no mercy, only the promise of less pain in another shape. You drop the pick and stagger to the ledge, legs trembling like reeds in a gale. The climb is a torment, rungs slick with ice, boots slipping, palms shrieking with every grip. At the top, the air hits like a blade, clean and cruel, slicing through the heat of labor until your skin burns with frost. You pull the hood low and follow the slow crawl of men toward the lean-to, heads bowed, shoulders hunched like oxen under an unseen yoke. Inside, the fire is a smear of red in the dark, coughing sparks that die before they leap. The pot holds nothing but a skin of grease, gray and brittle as old parchment. A man scrapes it with a crust hard as stone, licks his fingers, and weeps without sound. You hunch in the straw, draw the cloak around you, and chew on nothing. On air, on hunger, on the bitter taste of your own breath. The cold has teeth tonight, sharper than any lash. It nips your ears, your toes, the tip of your nose, until your flesh feels carved from wood. You curl tighter, tighter still, but there is no heat here, only the slow creep of winter through your marrow. Sleep takes you like a thief, sudden and brutal, and drags you down into a dream black as pitch. You see the bridge rising, stone upon stone, its span arching like a beast's back across a river that writhes and whispers below. Faces stare from the mortar, faces you know, worn smooth by death, mouths gaping as if to speak. You lean close, and the whisper slithers up, soft as breath on your ear. One stone for life, one life for stone. You wake with a cry strangled in your throat, sweat cold as sleet on your skin, heart hammering like a mallet on an anvil. The fire is dead. The dark is thick as tar, and the whisper clings in your skull like cobweb. You lie still, listening. The wind mutters low through the gaps, but beneath it, something else moves. A sound not sound. A voice without words, coiling through the black like smoke through a keyhole. It curls behind your eyes, slides along the curve of your thoughts, and settles deep where no prayer can root it out. You rise before dawn because the lash leaves no room for fear. But the whisper walks with you down to the pit, a shadow stitched to your breath. It hums through the ring of picks, the groan of sledges, the crack of stone. It hums until the world is nothing but its pulse and your pain, throbbing in time with the stroke of iron on rock. At midday, when you pause to drink, the water tastes wrong, thick, as if it clotted in your throat. And for an instant, you see it black, slick as oil, coiling like a serpent in the bucket's mouth. You blink, and it is gone. But the fear stays, cold and clean, cutting deeper than the frost. When the sun dies, you climb the ledge on legs that feel no longer yours. The sky gapes above, purple bruised to black, stars like nails hammered through its skin. The wind keens, a thin, mad sound that threads the dark. And in its wail, you hear it again, your name, soft and sweet as a mother's croon, yet heavy as the stone that breaks your back. It promises warmth. It promises rest. It promises an end. And God help you. You almost believe. The next day dawns not with light but with a slow seep of gray, as if the sky itself had rotted overnight. Frost webs the edges of the lean-to, delicate as lace and sharp as knives. Your cloak hangs stiff on your shoulders, a frozen pelt, and when you bend your fingers, the joints rasp like grit in a hinge. Hunger gnaws hollow behind your ribs, a wolf that never sleeps, its jaws sunk deep into the marrow of you. The overseer's shout cleaves the hush, and men stir like startled cattle. Boots crunch, picks clatter, breath steams white as ghost smoke. You follow because to lag is to taste the lash, and the lash is swifter than mercy. Down into the pit, down into the earth's black throat, where the frost clings like mold, and the torches bleed greasy light. The air tastes of iron and old damp, thick enough to chew. The rhythm begins again. Lift, swing, strike, until thought frays to threads, and all that remains is the bite of iron on stone. Chips sting your face, needle your hands, bite at the soft flesh beneath your nails. Your arms burn, your spine creaks, but the overseer's shadow drags across the ledge like a brand, and you do not falter. You dare not. Hours pass, slow as thaw. The sleet thickens, slanting in through the yawning mouth of the pit, needling flesh raw, soaking wool until it clings like a second skin of ice. Your breath rasps, torn by cold air, and when you cough, the taste of iron blooms bitter on your tongue. You swallow it down. There is no room for weakness here. Weakness is a grave you dig with your own hands. Midday brings no respite. The water bucket comes, rim crusted with ice, its contents brown as river mud. You drink because thirst is a fiercer tyrant than disgust. And the whisper rises again, not in the wind, not in any ear, but behind the bone of your skull where thought used to live. It slides like oil, slick and patient, wrapping each word in velvet. There is an end. There is a way. You need only give what you cannot keep. You squeeze your eyes shut, drive the pick harder, but the whisper swells with every strike, threading the clang of iron, the groan of stone, until it beats like a pulse behind your teeth. You glance at the others, gray faces, lips blue, eyes glazed with the frost of exhaustion, and wonder if they hear it too. One man drops his hammer, staggers back against the wall, mouth working like a fish stranded in mud. He clutches his chest, gasps once, twice, and slumps without sound. The overseer curses, drags the body aside by the hood, and the rhythm resumes as if nothing bled into the straw of the earth. By dusk, your body is a sack of pain slung around bones brittle as dry twigs. You climb the ledge on knees that quake like reeds, fingers numb, nails split to the quick. The wind scythes your face as you crest the rim, keening through the naked trees like some lost soul barred from heaven. You pull your cloak close and stumble toward the lean-to, its roof hunched low under a burden of sleet. Smoke curls thin from the hearth, a thread of black against the bruise-colored sky. Inside, the air is rank with damp wool, old sweat, breath sour with hunger. The fire sulks in its pit, embers glaring like blind eyes. The pot hangs empty, its bottom black with char. There is no bread. There is no broth. Only a silence heavy as stone, broken by the wet rasp of coughing from the dark. You hunch in the straw, knees drawn to your chest, and gnaw on the ghost of food in your mind. Crusts, apples, honey dripping gold. Dreams that taste of mockery now. Sleep crawls over you slow, a beast with velvet paws, and drags you down into black water. The river rises behind your lids, slick and coiling, its current thick as blood. Stones loom through the swirl, blocks hewn by your own hands, slick with frost, slick with something darker. Voices murmur from the depths, sweet and hollow as pipes of bone. You have given days. Give one breath more. Give, and be free. You reach for the surface, but the water clasps you like a mother's arms, and the whisper curls around your throat like a kiss. You wake with a gasp sharp enough to tear your throat. The fire is dead. The dark presses close, thick with the stink of men and fear. Outside, the wind sobs along the rafters, and beneath it, God's wounds. Beneath it, the whisper hums low and patient, a thread of silk sliding through your skull. Tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last stone. Tomorrow you can rest. And for the first time, you do not fight it. You lie back, staring at the black that seethes like ink behind the rafters, and think of the river, its dark mouth yawning wide. You think of weight sliding from your shoulders, of cold loosening its claws from your marrow. You think of silence, true silence, deep as the grave and soft as snow. Tomorrow. The word beats slow in your blood, in time with the lash of the wind. Tomorrow. And with that word burning like a coal behind your eyes, you close them once more, and the dark takes you down. The day begins with iron in your bones. You wake before the shout, before the stir of boots, before the sky leaks its gray poison through the gaps extant sen. The fire is ash, the straw rimed with frost, your breath pluming like smoke from a dying hearth. Men lie sprawled in the dark, curled shapes in their rags, groaning low as oxen under a breaking yoke. One does not move at all. You do not look at his face. Outside, the wind slices like a knife edge, driving needles of ice against your skin. The snow has crusted hard in the night, a white sheet cracked by boots and cart tracks, glimmering faint under the pallid dawn. The overseer stands at the rise, black as a thorn, lash coiled at his hip, his breath steaming in a pale corona. When he calls, his voice clangs like a bell struck on bone. Work! The Lord's bridge waits for no man's belly. You go. Because there is no choice but the lash, and no path but the one carved in your flesh by hunger. Down into the pit, down where the stone crouches cold and mute, down where the light seeps in like old wine, thin and sour. The picks rise and fall, their song dull as a death knell beaten against the earth's ribs. You join the rhythm, because the body moves when the mind cannot. Because if you stop, the lash will write your name in fire across your back. Time crawls like a crippled worm. The air thickens with sweat gone rank, with breath that hangs heavy as fog. Snow sifts through the mouth of the pit, pale ghosts spinning on the wind, settling in your hair, melting into rivulets down the furrows of your face. Your hands are raw stumps now, meat crusted with blood and grit. Each swing tears a thread from your sinews. Each blow pounds another nail into the coffin of your will. And all the while, the whisper hums. Behind your teeth, under your ribs, coiling through the hollow where thought once lived. One stone more. One life for rest. Give what you cannot keep. Give and be free. You taste it in the water when you drink. Black and bitter, slick as oil. You hear it in the rasp of sledges, the clink of iron pins, the groan of the earth as blocks wrench from its gut. You feel it in your own pulse, slow and thick, drumming like a muffled drum in the dark. By dusk, the world is ash. The sun smears like blood along the rim of the hills, and the sky bruises black as a rot, spreading under skin. The overseer calls the halt, his voice a thread of iron spun through the howl of wind. You shoulder the pick, shoulders hunched, legs trembling like reeds in a torrent. The climb up the ledge is a torment of slipping boots and shrieking muscles. When you crest the rim, the wind strikes like a fist, clawing tears from your eyes, freezing them on your lashes like beads of glass. The lean-to waits, its roof stooped low under the burden of sleet. Smoke curls thin from the hearth, a black thread lost in the dark. Inside, the air stinks of wet wool and old fear. Men huddle close to the embers, shadows hunched like carrion birds. The pot hangs empty, bottom slick with the scum of grease. No broth tonight, no bread, only the ache in your gut and the slow gnaw of something colder than hunger. You sink into the straw, limbs folding like broken beams. Your body hums with pain, a hive of stings crawling from nape to heel. Your hands throb in their bloody wraps, fingers twitching like worms in a spade-cut clod. You close your eyes, and the dark swells up like a tide, thick and sweet, lapping soft as velvet against your mind. And there it is, the river. Always the river, black as pitch, curling like a serpent under the arch of the bridge that rises stone by stone in the hollow of your dream. Faces bloom in the mortar, faces worn smooth by death, mouths yawning wide as if to laugh, or scream, or sing. And their song is the whisper, low and soft and sure. Tomorrow is the last stone. Tomorrow you will rest. You wake with the word in your mouth, sour as bile, sweet as sin. The fire is dead. The lean-to hums with the breath of men locked in dreams thick as tar. Outside, the wind sobs along the roof, and in its sob, you hear your name, drawn out long and low, sweet as honey poured on a blade. You rise, not because the lash calls, not because hunger drives, but because the whisper tugs like a hook sunk deep behind your ribs. You step into the night, snow crunching under your boots, the air black as drowned lungs, the stars cold nails hammered into a vault of iron. The pit gapes ahead, a mouth rimed with ice, and the wind moans through its teeth like a choir of the damned. You stand at its edge and look down into the dark, where torches gutter low and the river crawls black beyond the bridge's spine. You taste frost on your tongue. You taste the end, sweet and clean as the first snow. And then, as if the earth itself had drawn breath, the whisper swells, not in your ears, but in your marrow, thick as honey and sharp as glass. One step, and you are free. Your hands open. The wind takes your breath. The dark tilts, yawns wide, and the thought unfurls in your skull like a banner. Freedom is a fall. You do not know how long you stand at the rim, boots sinking in the snow, staring down into the quarry's throat. The dark churns below, deep as the grave and twice as cold, and the wind combs its fingers through your hood with a sound like someone whispering behind a door. The whisper inside you swells until it fills your skull, soft as wool, heavy as stone. One step, one breath, and the weight is gone. Your legs tremble, not with fear, not quite, but with the ache of endless days, the grinding of bone and sinew beneath the wheel of labor. You think of the lash that bites deeper than frost, of the stone that drinks your blood and gives nothing back but silence, of hunger gnawing like a rat in your gut. You think of all that will never be, fields green as saints' robes, bread warm as hearth fire, laughter thick as honey. These were lies you once chewed to keep the wolf from the door of your soul. Now there is only truth, black and wide as the pit yawning beneath your boots. Your toes creep forward, scraping snow from the edge. A pebble skitters down, strikes once, twice, then vanishes in the dark with a sound like a swallowed prayer. You lean, and the wind catches your cloak, plucking at it like greedy fingers. The cold bites tears from your eyes, and they freeze on your lashes like beads of glass. You think it will be quick, quicker than the lash, quicker than hunger hollowing me to bone. The thought is a flame licking slow along the wick of your will. But then, a sound. Not wind, not whisper. A sound raw and red as a wound. A voice behind you, hoarse with cold and something else. What are you doing? You turn slow, joints creaking like cartwheels in frost. A shape looms through the dark. A man, hooded, face a blur, breath smoking in plumes that twist and vanish in the black. His eyes catch the starlight, twin sparks banked in hollows deep as thirst. You know him. Or you think you do. One of the others. A shadow from the lean-to, flesh as broken as yours. You open your mouth, but no words come, only the frost rasp of breath. He steps closer, boots crunching, and for an instant you see his face clear, lips split and bleeding, cheeks hollow, beard clotted with ice. His eyes burn, not with life, but with something harder, hungrier. He grips your arm. His hand is bone under skin, cold as a saint's relic. Not like this, he says. His voice cracks like green wood on a fire. Not in their pit. Not where the stone drinks it. His fingers tighten, nails biting through your sleeve. You want out? So do I. But not here. Not for them. You stare, and the words clatter in your skull like dice in a bone cup. Not for them. The whisper curls, hissing sweet as honey. He lies. The river is mercy. The dark will cradle you soft as snow. Give and rest. Your lips twitch. You almost speak it. But his eyes pin you. Two sparks smoldering in a world gone ash. And for a heartbeat, the whisper falters. Then the overseer's horn rips the dark, a blast harsh as a blade drawn on stone. The man jerks, breath steaming fast, and his grip loosens. Come, he snarls, low as a dog's growl, before they drag us by the throats. He turns, vanishes into the black like a shadow slipping its leash. You stand a moment longer at the rim, staring down into the quarry's gut. The whisper hums, soft and sly. Tomorrow, if not now. Tomorrow. You taste it on your tongue, bitter and sweet as wormwood and honey. Then you turn, slow as frost creeping through a corpse, and follow the man's trail through the snow. The lean-to squats low in the dark, its roof stooped like a beggar's back. Inside, the fire sulks, coughing sparks like blood, and men huddle in silence, faces hollow, eyes dull as coins worn smooth by centuries. You sink to the straw, body folding like rotted timber, and the cloak clings damp around your bones. Sleep crawls over you, a beast with velvet paws, and drags you down, down into a dream black as pitch. The river waits there, as it always does, coiling like a serpent under the bridge's arch. But now the bridge is finished, stone on stone, sealed with sweat and blood and prayers that curdled on frozen lips. A shape moves upon it, cloaked and hooded, walking slow, steps soundless as snow. When it turns, you see your own face beneath the hood, lips blue, eyes blind and white as marrow. And when it smiles, the whisper spills from its mouth like smoke. Tomorrow, the last stone will be yours. You wake with the word in your throat, choking on it like gruel too thick to swallow. The fire is dead. The dark is a shroud pulled tight. Outside, the wind moans, low and long, and the sound burrows into your marrow until you cannot tell if it comes from the world or from the hollow behind your heart. You lie still, staring at the black above, and feel the weight of tomorrow press down like the lid of a coffin. Because you know now, tomorrow will come. And when it does, something in you will break. Something that cannot be mended by fire or prayer or stone. Mornin' crawls from the horizon like a wounded beast, dragging a sky the color of lead. The cold has grown sharper, a blade honed on night's whetstone. Frost crusts the edges of the lean-to, thick as salt, and the straw crackles beneath you as you shift, joints grinding like stones in a mill. You rise slow, because speed costs more than you have left, and pull your cloak tight, though it might as well be spider silk against the gnaw of winter. The overseer's horn brays again, its cry hacking the hush into ragged strips. Men stir, groaning low, shapes bent and gray as old ash. One lies still, face turned to the rafters, eyes glazed like pond ice. His lips are cracked wide in a smile that isn't joy. No one speaks. Two men drag him out by the heels, and the snow takes him without sound. By sundown, Wolves will know his name. You move with the rest. Boots crunching in snow, crusted hard as iron. Breath pluming in slow ghosts that twist and vanish in the wind. The pit yawns ahead, black and bottomless. Its teeth rimed with ice. The torches gutter along its rim, their light licking thin fingers into the gray. Down you go. Down the frozen ladder. Down where the earth's ribs jut pale and slick. Down into a throat that never fills no matter how many lives it swallows. The work begins as always. Picks bite. Hammers ring. The sound booms in the hollow like a bell tolling for souls already damned. The stone gives grudgingly, splinter by splinter, dust choking the air until your lungs rasp raw. Frost clings to your beard, stiff as wire. Blood cakes your palms where blisters burst days ago, black and brittle as old scabs. When you swing, pain flares sharp as a struck nail, but you swing again, always again. Because the lash is watching. Because hunger is a chain with teeth. Because the whisper will not let you stop. It hums low beneath your breath now, sweet and slick as honey on steel. One stone more. One breath more. Then rest. You try to drown it in the clang of iron, in the grunts and curses of men breaking bone against bone. But it seeps through the din like smoke through a crack, coiling soft around your skull, stroking the hollow behind your eyes. You have given all. Give the last. Give, and the dark will cradle you like a mother's arms. By midday, your strength frays to threads. The water they pass stinks of wood and rust. You drink deep, though it tastes thick, as if something old and black stirred in its depths. When you wipe your mouth, the smear on your sleeve looks like ink. You stare a moment too long, and the whisper laughs, low and tender. Soon, little stone. Soon. The man who spoke to you last night works 2 rungs down, his back bowed like a yoke-bent ox. You see the tremor in his arms, the stutter of his swing, and know he is close to breaking. Once, you'd pity him. Now, you wonder if he hears it too. That velvet hiss winding through the marrow, promising an end sweeter than bread, softer than straw. You want to ask, but words are weight, and you are hollow as a husk. The overseer prowls the ledge, his lash hissing when arms slow or shoulders sag. Once, it snaps across a man's back with a sound like wet cloth torn in two. The man jerks, stumbles, then swings harder, red welling under his tunic like spilled wine. You look away, because his pain feels too much like your own, and because the whisper purrs in your skull. Better a fall than the lash. Better the dark than this. When the sun smears its blood across the teeth of the hills, the horn calls halt. You climb slow, knees creaking, palms slick with blood and stone grit. The wind greets you sharp as knives, flaying what little warmth clings to your flesh. You taste iron on your lips, bitter and thick. And for a heartbeat you wonder if you've bitten your own tongue, or if the quarry has begun to seep through you, staining you stone from the inside out. The lean-to crouches under the weight of night, smoke coiling thin as thread from its crooked throat. Inside, the air stinks of damp and despair. The fire is a scab of ember. The pot hangs empty, its belly black with hunger. Men huddle close, shadows stitched to the walls, eyes sunk deep in hollows that gape like sockets in a skull. No one speaks. The silence is a cloth thrown over your head, heavy, suffocating, humming with the beat of your own blood. You curl in the straw, but sleep does not come easy. When it does, it drags you under like a stone dropped in black water. The river waits, as it always does, its coils gleaming slick as oil, its current whispering sweet as sin. The bridge arches high now, finished save one gap, a single stone missing from its spine. And in your dream, you know its name. You know it Because the whisper shapes it on your tongue like prayer. You are the last. You wake with your heart clawing at your ribs, sweat cold as sleet on your brow. The dark crouches close, thick and black, and the wind sobs beyond the walls like a soul barred from heaven. And there, beneath it all, soft and patient as frost creeping through bone, the whisper curls. Tomorrow is the last stone. You lie staring into the dark until your eyes ache, and the weight of that word presses on your chest like a slab fresh hewn from the earth. Tomorrow, you will choose. Or perhaps the choice was made long ago, in the marrow of your hunger, in the hollow where hope once lived. The horn splits the dark like a sword drawn slow across stone. You wake with the sound grating your bones, tearing you out of a dream where the river glimmered black and endless beneath a bridge built from faces you once knew. The lean-to stirs, a nest of gaunt shapes, fumbling for boots, for cloaks crusted stiff with frost, for tools that gnash iron teeth in the pale, pitiless light of dawn. Your body rises because it must, because the lash waits for any who falter. Pain sparks down your spine, across your shoulders, flaring in your wrists where the skin hangs in tatters. You pull the cloak close, though it clings damp and reeks of old sweat and smoke. Hunger gnaws behind your ribs like a rat, sharp and tireless. There will be no food before labor. There is never food before labor. Outside, the wind howls low and hollow through the pines, stirring the snow into gray ghosts that writhe along the ground. The sky crouches heavy, a slab of lead bruised purple at the edges. The pit yawns ahead, a black wound in the flesh of the earth, its rim bristling with frost like teeth. Down you go, boots slipping on rungs slick with ice, the torches guttering weak in the gray like souls clinging to flesh they long to flee. The work begins without words. Picks bite, hammers crash, iron shrieks on stone. The sound drills into your skull until thought frays, leaving only the rhythm. Swing, strike, breathe. Swing, strike, breathe. The stone resists, as always, but you hack at it like a man carving a door into hell, because the lash breathes behind your neck, because the whisper coils under your ribs, sweet and sly as venom. One stone more, one breath more, then rest. You try not to hear it, but the day is long, and the cold gnaws deeper than hunger, and every blow feels like a prayer to a God who never speaks. So you let it hum, low and tender, threading the clang of steel, the grunt of men, the hiss of sleet on stone. You have given all. Give the last. Give, and the dark will cradle you soft as a mother's hand. Midway through, the man from before, he who pulled you back from the rim, glances up. His eyes catch yours, twin sparks guttering in hollows deep as thirst. There's something in them you almost know. Warning, or plea, or a fragment of the hope you buried seasons ago. His lips move, shaping words you cannot hear above the roar of picks. You want to ask, but the overseer's lash snaps like fire through the air, and you bend again to the stone, spine screaming, breath tearing your throat raw. Time crawls, slow as thaw. Light bleeds from the sky, seeping thin into the pit, pooling in the creases of frost-clad walls. Your arms burn until they feel carved from ash, hollow and brittle. The pick's handle slickens in your grip, dark streaked where blood and sweat mingle. You think, this is the last day. It must be. The whisper cannot lie. The thought shivers through you like fever. When the horn balls halt, its cry shatters the dusk like a blade on bone. You climb slow, knees creaking, lungs heaving ragged as bellows. The wind flays your face at the rim, a lash sharper than any rope of hide. Stars prick the vault of night, cold nails hammered into black wood. The lean-to squats low against the wind, its smoke threadbare as hope. Inside, the fire sulks, coughing sparks like blood. The pot hangs empty, its belly black with hunger. A man whimpers in the corner, a sound thin as a reed in winter water. Another coughs until crimson spatters his palm. No one speaks. Words cost breath, and breath is dearer than meat. You curl in the straw, cloak clutched tight, and the whisper comes as the dark folds over you, soft as silk, sweet as rot. Tomorrow, little stone. Tomorrow the bridge is whole. Sleep takes you like a flood, dragging you down into black depths where the river glimmers, oily and slow, under a sky sown with iron stars. The bridge arcs above, finished now, gleaming white as bone under frost. Faces bloom from its mortar, faces smoothed by death, mouths gaping in laughter you cannot hear. A figure stands at its crown, cloaked and hooded, hands outstretched as if to bless or beckon. When it lifts its head, the hood falls back, and you see yourself staring through eyes blank as moonstone. The mouth moves. Smoke curls from its lips, shaping the word that beats like a hammer behind your ribs. Come. You wake with a cry strangled in your throat, heart a drum frantic in a chest tight as a sealed coffin. The dark hums around you, thick as tar, the wind sobbing low beyond the walls. And beneath it all, patient as frost, soft as wormwood and honey, the whisper curls like smoke through your marrow. Tomorrow is the last stone. You lie still, staring into the black, and feel the truth of it sink its claws deep. There will be no tomorrow beyond that. No thaw, no spring, no green fields rolling under a sky rinsed clean. Only the river, black and sweet, cradling you in its cold arms until all the weight slides from your bones and silence drowns the lash forever. And in that thought, dark, bitter, tender as a bruise, you find a peace that tastes like sleep. The horn comes before the light, before the sky bleeds its gray poison across the ragged teeth of the hills. It hacks through the dark like an axe splitting green wood, tearing you from a dream where the bridge rose white as bone under a sky black as pitch. Its arch carved from names you had forgotten until they whispered them back to you. You wake choking on the echo of that word. Come. And the weight of it clings like frost to your skin. Men stir in the gloom, groaning low, shapes bent and broken as roots pulled from frozen ground. One does not move. His mouth yawns wide in a grin that isn't joy, and his eyes glare pale as fish bellies in the torchlight. No one speaks. They drag him out by the heels, boots scraping, and leave him in the snow, where the wind will strip him to bone, and wolves will hymn his passing. You do not look back. There is nothing behind you but hunger and the gnash of teeth. Outside, the wind sobs low through the trees, stirring the snow into gray ghosts that writhe along the ground. The sky squats heavy, a lid of iron clamped on the world. Your boots crunch on the crusted drifts, breath streaming white as smoke, shoulders hunched beneath a weight no cloak can shield. The overseer waits at the rim of the pit, his lash coiled like a serpent hungry for flesh. His eyes glint in the torchlight, small and bright as coins buried deep. When he jerks his head, you go. You all go, because there is no road from here but down. The ladder yawns, slick with rime, and you grip its rungs until your palms shriek. Raw meat grinding on wood. Down you go, into the quarry's gut, where the frost sweats from the walls and the air tastes of rust and rot. The torches gutter weak, their light slathered on the stone like grease. Shadows crouch in the corners, long as gallows ropes, and the clang of picks booms in the hollow like a bell tolling for souls already spent. You swing until thought frays to threads, until your breath rasps like a saw in your throat, until your arms ache with the ache of centuries. The pick's bite numbs your hands, the shock of each strike rippling through marrow brittle as frost split wood. Splinters sting your face, cling to your beard, drift like pale motes through the gloom. You swing because the lash waits, because the lash is quicker than prayer. because the whisper hums in your skull, sweet and low as milk warmed with honey. One stone more, one life for rest. Give, and the dark will cradle you soft as snow. You try not to hear it, but it slides between your ribs like smoke through a chink, curling around the hollow where hope rotted long ago. It strokes your thoughts until they shiver loose, until all that remains is the slow, patient promise of an end, clean as water, deep as sleep. One step, and the weight is gone. One step, and you are more than flesh ground to dust. The man from before, he who caught your arm at the rim, labors 2 rungs down. His breath hitches in the stillness between blows, a sound thin as a reed in winter water. His shoulders jerk with each swing, spasms of sinew stretched past mercy. Once, you thought him stronger than you. Now you see the tremor in his grip, the glaze on his eyes, the gray bloom creeping across his skin like mold. He lifts his head once, meets your gaze. Something moves in his stare, warning, or kinship, or the last flicker of a fire guttering in its own ashes. His lips twitch, shaping words the clamor swallows whole. Then the overseer's lash snaps the air, a hiss sharp as a serpent's tongue. It bites into the man's back, and he jerks, stumbles, swings again. The sound he makes is not pain, but something deeper, something hollow as the wind moaning through bones bleached in a ditch. You look away, because his sound is your sound, unvoiced, caged behind your teeth, and because the whisper purrs, velvet and venom. Better the fall than the lash. Better the river than this chain of breath and blood. Light leaks from the sky slow as thaw, bruising purple where it seeps over the pit's lip. The overseer bawls halt, his voice iron on iron, and you climb. The ladder shrieks under your boots, slick with rime, and your hands leave smears dark as ink on the rungs. The wind knives your face at the rim, sawing tears from your eyes and freezing them to beads of glass. Stars prick the vault above, nails hammered through black cloth, cold as coins pressed on a corpse's lids. The lean-to squats low against the gale, smoke crawling thin as a spider's thread from its crooked roof. Inside, the air crouches heavy with the stench of wet wool and breath sour as old meat. The fire sulks in its pit, coughing sparks like blood. The pot gapes empty, its belly black with hunger. Men curl in silence, shadows stitched to the straw. A cough rasps, a moan stirs, and then stillness folds over them like a shroud. You curl too, knees drawn to ribs sharp as sickles, and the dark comes down thick as pitch. Sleep does not creep. It strikes, sudden and blind, dragging you into black water slick as oil. The river coils there, whispering through its teeth, curling like smoke beneath a sky sown with iron stars. The bridge gleams above, white as bone under frost, its span complete save for one gap, a single stone missing, yawning like a wound. You know its name. The whisper shapes it on your tongue like prayer. You are the last. You wake, strangled in your own breath, eyes wide on the dark. Outside, the wind sobs long and low, a dirge for men ground to dust. And beneath it, patient as rot, soft as silk, the whisper hums in the marrow of your bones. Tomorrow, the bridge is whole. And you know with a clarity sharp as frost that tomorrow something will break. Not the stone. You. Dawn does not come so much as ooze across the sky, pale and sour as whey spilled from a cracked bowl. The cold gnaws sharper than yesterday, a wolf with iron teeth sunk deep in the marrow of your bones. You wake stiff as frozen timber, cloak stiff with rime, breath smoking in plumes that writhe like ghosts before the gale tears them to tatters. Around you, men stir from heaps of straw, Faces carved thin as saints in wood. Lips split wide in grimaces that are not smiles. One shape does not stir. His arm lies flung across the dark like a fallen branch, fingers curled and blackened with frost. They drag him out by the heels. The wind takes him without a sound. The overseer's horn balls from the rise, a cry harsh as iron rasped on stone. You rise because the lash waits, because hunger gnaws like a rat behind your ribs, because the whisper hums under your skin like a swarm behind wattle walls. One more day, one stone more, then rest. The words coil sweet and slow, stroking the hollow where thought once lived, and you clutch them to your breast as you clutch the pick, though both weigh heavier than sin. The wind knifes your face as you tramp the path, boots grinding on snow, crusted hard as a smith's anvil. The sky hangs low, swollen with bruised clouds, sagging like a roof heavy with rot. The pit yawns ahead, black and blind, its lip crusted with rime, its ribs bristling with torches that bleed greasy light into the gray. Down you go, boots skidding on rungs slick as marrow, breath rasping harsh as a saw. The air closes around you, thick with damp and the sour stink of men, tasting of rust, and old rain, and something deeper, something that breathes from the stone like the exhale of a beast dreaming in its lair. The work begins as it always begins, picks shrieking, hammers tolling like bells for the damned, iron gnashing bone. You fall into the rhythm because the body knows what the mind cannot bear. Swing, strike, gasp, swing, strike, gasp. Hours creep like lice across a corpse. Sweat slicks your back, freezes in runnels when the wind hunts you down the shaft. Blood seeps from your palms where blisters burst days ago, black and gritty as old pitch. You taste iron when you lick your lips, and you do not know if it's your own blood or the quarry's. The man who spoke to you, he who dragged you from the rim, works close today, close enough that you can see the tremor in his shoulders, the rattle of his breath. His face is a mask scoured by frost, eyes sunk deep as wormholes in rotten wood. Once, you thought you knew what smoldered there. Warning, maybe pity. Now you see only emptiness, hollow as a bell that tolls for its own fall. When he lifts his head, your gazes snag. And in that moment, you know. The whisper coils in him too. You see it writhed behind his eyes like smoke, trapped under glass. The overseer prowls the ledge, lash whispering as it slides through his fist. Its hiss splits the air when a man falters, carving a stripe that blooms crimson through gray wool. The cry it rips free is no longer human, but something raw, scraped from the root of the spine. You flinch, but your arms do not slow. You swing, you strike, because the lash drinks faster than hunger, because the whisper strokes your skull with words sweet as rot. Better the fall than the rope. Better the river than this chain of breath and bone. By midday, your thoughts sag under the weight of weariness. The world swims gray and white, smears of snow whirling like ash through a sky clamped shut. The torches cough black smoke that clings to your throat like soot. The water they pass stinks of wood and iron. You drink deep, and the chill gnaws like teeth at your gut. When you wipe your mouth, your sleeve gleams dark as tar. The whisper hums, low and tender. Soon, one more stone. Then silence, soft as lamb's wool, warm as sleep. Light bleeds out of the sky like blood from a butchered beast. The horn balls halt, a cry harsh as a crow's caw, and you climb slow, joints groaning, sinews taut as ropes dragged over stone. The wind meets you at the rim, howling through the gap-toothed trees, tearing at your hood, clawing tears from your eyes. The stars blink out one by one, snuffed like tallow wicks, until only blackness sprawls, nailed to the world by a pale shard of moon. The lean-to squats low under the lash of sleet, smoke crawling from its crooked throat. Inside, the air crouches thick with the stench of wet wool, breath rank as a midden heap, fear sour as curdled milk. The fire sulks in its pit, a red eye glaring through ash. The pot gapes hollow, its belly black with hunger. A man coughs until blood spatters the straw and coins, bright as winter berries. Another stares into the dark, lips working soundless prayers to a god deafened by the roar of stone. You curl among them, bones rattling under a skin stretched thin as parchment, and the dark folds over you like a sodden cloak. Sleep comes on padded feet, dragging you down through black water slick as oil. The river waits there, whispering sweet through its teeth, curling black and sleek under a sky sown with nails of frost. The bridge gleams above, white as bone, its span whole at last, save for one gap. And you know its name because the whisper sings it through your veins like wine. You are the last stone. You wake strangled in your own breath, heart battering like a bird in a snare. The lean-to crouches silent, but for the wheeze of men rotting from the inside. The wind keens beyond the wall, a dirge for flesh, ground fine to dust. And beneath it, sweet and patient as death in winter, the whisper curls, stroking the hollow where your will once lived. Tomorrow, little stone. Tomorrow, you will rest. And this time, you do not deny it. You clutch the thought close as embers, and in its glow, you find something you had not felt in 1,000 days. Peace, black and soft as the snow falling soundless beyond the door. Morning does not break. It seeps, thin and gray, through the cracks like water leaking from a corpse. The horn wails again, long and hollow, and its sound drags the last tattered scraps of sleep from your bones. You rise slow, as if the air were thick clay and your limbs stakes driven deep. The lean-to stinks of rot, and breath sour as swill, of straw fouled with sweat and blood ground in by boots. Men shift and groan like oxen lashed from dreams, faces carved sharp as famine, eyes dull as pewter coins. One figure does not move. His mouth gapes, a black O frozen on his gray face. His hands are claws of ice clamped to his chest, nails cracked and blue. The others drag him out in silence. The door yawns, and cold rushes in like a wolf, stripping the last heat from the room. You watch the body vanish into the white beyond and think, he has found rest before me. The thought tastes bitter and sweet, like milk gone sour on the tongue. The wind hacks at your flesh as you trudge the path, a knife honed on the bones of men. The snow squeals under your boots, crust brittle as old glass. The sky presses low, sagging heavy with storm, a bruise of black and purple veined with veins of iron light. Ahead, the pit gapes, a black throat rimed with teeth of frost, breathing mist that curls pale as smoke from a pyre. Down you go, down the rungs slick as marrow, down where the torches gutter and spit in their sconces, bleeding greasy light across the sweating stone. The overseer waits on the ledge, lash coiled like a serpent in his fist. His eyes flick over you all, bright and sharp as frost blades, and his mouth crooks in something that is not a smile. "One more span," he snarls, voice thick as rancid tallow. "The bridge will stand before the feast. No man leaves till the stones lie fast." His words drop like lead into the hollow, and you feel them sink through your gut to the marrow. One more span, one last stretch of bone-white arch, and then? His promise is nothing, but the whisper hums like a hive in your skull, stroking thoughts soft as lamb's wool. One span, one stone, then silence, sweet and deep as snow. You swing the pick until your arms creak, until your wrists shriek like ropes stretched to breaking, until the air blurs and black motes drift before your eyes like cinders on a wind. The rhythm devours you. Swing, strike, Gasp. Swing. Strike. Gasp. Frost clots your beard, stiff as wire, needling your lips with blades of ice. Your breath rasps raw, lungs clawed open by the cold. Blood worms from your palms, seeps into the wood of the pick, dark and sticky as pitch. Still you swing. Still you listen as the whisper winds soft through the clang of iron, the grunt of men, the hiss of sleet on stone. Lay the last. Then let go. The dark is warm. The river waits with arms wide as a mother's grave. The man who stayed your step that night moves near, his pick gnashing in a frenzy that reeks of despair. His breath comes ragged, tearing at his throat, and his eyes, God's wounds. His eyes are pits filled with ash. Once they burned. Now they drown in gray. You wonder if the whisper curls in him too, if it sings his name through his marrow like a lover crooning in the dark. You almost speak, almost ask, but your lips freeze around the thought, because the lash sings sharp and black across the air, biting deep into another man's back, and his cry rips the hollow raw. When the horn balls halt, it is no reprieve, only a pause before the wheel turns again. You climb slow, every joint rasping like a saw through green wood, every breath a fist of frost in your throat. The wind meets you at the rim, a scourge flaying skin to raw meat, howling through the gaunt black trees like wolves loosed on a white plain. The stars blink cold as iron nails, and the moon hangs pale and fat, a coin pressed to the sky's dead palm. The lean-to crouches under the weight of night, its roof stooped low, its smoke threadbare and thin. Inside, the fire spits weak as spit in a griddle. The pot hangs hollow, bottom black with grease hard as horn. No broth, no bread, only a silence thick as tallow, broken by the wheeze of lungs rotting slow from frost and dust. A man hacks red into his hands, stares at it with eyes blank as old glass, then folds without sound into the straw. You curl too, bones rattling under a skin drawn tight as rawhide. The cloak clings damp and rank, and the dark slides over you like a coffin lid. Sleep drags you down through black water slick as oil, and the river waits there, whispering sweet through its teeth, curling sleek and black under a sky nailed with iron stars. The bridge gleams above, white as a saint's skull, its span whole save for one wound gaping wide. You know its name. You feel it burn like a brand in the meat of your mind. You are the last. You wake gagging on your own breath, heart slamming wild against the ribs. The fire is ash. The wind sobs through the gaps like a voice muffled in wool. And beneath it, velvet, patient, sweet as wormwood steeped in honey, the whisper hums in the hollow of your bones. Tomorrow is the last day. Tomorrow, little stone, the bridge will stand, and you will fall. You lie staring into the black until your eyes ache, and the weight of that word presses down slow and sure, heavier than stone, colder than death. Tomorrow. And you know, with a peace black and bright as frost under moonlight, that you will not climb back from the pit again. The horn rips the black belly of night wide open. You wake with the sound carved into your bones like a chisel mark, with the taste of iron pooled on your tongue. The lean-to stirs, groans, coughs wet as thawed mud. The clatter of picks dragged across frozen straw. The air reeks of old smoke and unwashed flesh. A man slumps against the wall, chin sunk to his chest, eyes glazed like river ice. His lips are blue ropes knotted in a grimace. No one touches him. Death is no marvel here. They will drag him out with the others, lay him down for the wind and the wolves. Flesh goes back to the earth quicker than bread to a poor man's belly. You rise slow, each joint grinding like millstones gnawed by years. The cloak hangs stiff with rime, brittle as old parchment. Your breath leaks white, curls, dies in the air's black maw. Outside, the wind gnaws your cheeks raw. It combs its steel fingers through the gray mane of the forest, howling through the ribs of the hills like a harp strung with bone. The snow squeals under your boots, crust sharp as glass. The path writhes ahead like a scar gouged deep through white flesh, leading to the mouth of the pit. The sky hangs low, swollen with storm, black and purple like a bruise left by a giant's fist. The pit yawns wide, a throat hacked into the earth, its teeth glinting with frost, its breath steaming like the sigh of some buried beast. The torches gutter on their spits, coughing greasy light across the stone ribs. Down you go, boots slipping on rungs slick as fat, hands raw where blood crusts black in the cracks. The air closes in, damp and rank, smelling of sweat gone sour and stone sweating under chains of frost. The walls loom pale, veined with iron scars where picks have bitten deep. Shadows crouch like dogs in the corners, twitching when the torchlight flares. The overseer prowls the ledge, lash coiled in his fist like a serpent drunk on blood. His eyes gleam small and bright as coins, and his voice grates like a hinge rusted by years of tears. 2 spans more. 2. The Lord feasts by the new moon, and by God's bones this bridge will bear his feet. The words clatter down the shaft like stones kicked into a well, and you feel their weight thud in your marrow. 2 spans. 2 more arches gnawed from your backs, from the marrow of your bones. You think, I will not see them. I will not see the thaw. I will not climb from this throat again. And the whisper hums, sweet and sly, stroking your skull like a mother's hand slick with grave mold. No more climbs. No more lash. 1 step, little stone. 1 breath, and the dark will cradle you soft as wool. You swing until the pick feels fused to your fists, until your arms creak like axles under too much weight, until the world shrinks to the whine of iron on stone, and the sour reek of men grinding themselves into grist. Splinters sting your cheeks, cling like gnats to your beard. Frost clots in your lashes, needling your lids till they swell. Breath rasps raw in your throat, each gasp a mouthful of knives. The rhythm chews your mind to pulp. Lift, swing, strike. Lift, swing, strike. And under it, soft as a serpent sliding through reeds, the whisper wins. 1 stone more. 1 breath more. Then silence. Then sleep. The man from before labors near, shoulders jerking, breath hitching in gulps that sound like ropes fraying strand by strand. His pick clatters once, twice. He stoops to snatch it up, but his knees buckle, and he sags against the wall, eyes wide, staring into some black beyond the black. For a heartbeat, you see yourself in those eyes. Not the man you were, but the husk you have become, hollow as a gourd, rattling with the dry seeds of hunger and dread. The overseer's lash snaps, slicing the air into ribbons. It licks the man's back with a stripe of fire. He jerks like a fish hooked deep and swings again. You do not flinch this time, because the whisper curls through the scream like smoke through rafters. Better the fall than the rope. Better the dark than the fire in your spine. The horn balls halt, a cry raw and ragged, and you climb. The rungs shriek under your boots. Your hands smear blood dark as pitch across the wood. The wind slams your face at the rim, biting tears from your eyes and freezing them into beads of glass. The sky sprawls black as a widow's veil, and the moon hangs fat and white, grinning like a skull nailed to the vault of night. The lean-to squats low, hunched like a beast licking its sores. Inside, the air crouches heavy with breath rank as tallow smoke, with the wet rasp of lungs rotting from frost and dust. The fire sulks in its pit, coughing sparks like blood, a single red eye glaring through ash. The pot gapes hollow, its belly black with grease crusted hard as horn. A man whimpers in the corner, a sound thin as wind whining through reeds. Another coughs till crimson spatters the straw, bright as berries spilled on snow. You curl in the dark, bones grinding under a skin drawn tight as rawhide, and the whisper hums soft in the hollow behind your eyes. Tomorrow is the last climb. Tomorrow, the bridge is whole, and you are free. The thought blooms black and sweet, a poppy unfolding in the ashes of your mind. You clutch it close, and in its glow, you find something you thought the pit had stripped away. Peace. A peace cold as the frost gloving the world. A peace deep as the river waiting with arms wide and black, whispering through its teeth. Come. And for the first time, you smile. The horn moans again, low and hollow, like a cow bellowing across a frozen field. You wake in the dark, breath rasping in a throat lined with rust. The fire is dead, the lean-to black as a priest's robe, thick with the stink of bodies and straw gone sour. Men stir like sacks of meat dragged from a midden. One does not move. His head lies tilted back, mouth yawning to heaven as if mid-psalm, but his tongue is a black stick frozen in his jaws. They drag him out without words. The door yawns and cold rushes in, gnawing your flesh like a dog's teeth. You rise because the lash waits, because the whisper coils like a worm in the marrow of your spine, purring in a voice sweet as curdled milk. One day more, one breath more. Then, silence. Then, the dark will kiss your bones. The wind hacks at your face when you step outside. It claws through the gray beard, clotted stiff with frost, plucking your hood like greedy fingers. The sky hangs low, a slab of iron bruised black at the rim. Snow rasps under your boots, crust sharp as a knife's edge. Ahead, the pit yawns, black and blind, a wound hacked in the earth's white flesh. Torches gutter on their spits, bleeding tallow light that smears across the ribs of stone. The ladder leers down, rungs slick as marrow. You grip them till your palms shriek, blood cracking in old scabs. Down you go. Always down. The air closes like a fist as you sink. Damp, rank, sour with the sweat of men and the stink of stone sweating under frost. Shadows twitch in the corners when the torchlight reels. The walls loom pale, veined with scars, where picks have gnawed for seasons, where prayers have bled and froze unsaid. The overseer stands on the ledge, lash coiled in his fist, grin stretched thin as a split gut. His eyes glitter like wolf eyes catching firelight. 2 more courses, he bawls, voice rasping like iron rasped on bone. The bridge will bear the Lord's feet by moonrise. No man eats till the span is laid. The words clang in the hollow like hammer blows, ringing in your skull till thought buckles. 2 more courses, 2 more belts of stone to grind from your bones. You think, I will not see the feast. I will not see thaw. I will not climb again. And the whisper slides through that crack like water through wattle. No more lash. No more gnaw of hunger. 1 step, little stone. 1 step, and the weight falls away. You swing till your arms burn to ash, till your breath rasps like a saw through sodden wood, till the world shrinks to the whine of iron and the black grit spitting from the wound of the earth. Splinters sting your lips, cling in your beard like lice. Frost needles your lids till they swell and weep. Blood worms from your palms, slicking the pick's haft till it grins black with sweat and gore. Still you swing. Still you breathe the whisper threading the clang, stroking your skull soft as lamb's wool steeped in pitch. Soon, 1 stone more, 1 breath more. Then the dark folds you like a cloak. The man who once caught your arm crouches 2 paces off, his back bent like a yoke-boat ox. His pick clatters once, twice. He stoops, fingers fumbling, breath tearing in sobs that sound like prayer. His eyes flare up, hollow lamps drowned in shadow. And in their depth, you see it, the thing that curls in you, winding through marrow, like smoke through rafters. He opens his mouth, lips shaping sound, but the lash strikes first. A hiss like a serpent's tongue, a snap sharp as a bone breaking, and his cry bursts raw from the root of him. It rings through the shaft, thin as a child's scream carried on a gale. You do not flinch, because the whisper croons through the din like a psalm sung low. Better the fall than the rope, better the river than fire in your spine. Light leaks out of the sky, slow as blood from a throat slit deep. The horn balls halt, ragged as a crow's caw, and you climb. The rungs shriek under boots rimed black with frost, under fingers dripping black where blood weeps fresh from old wounds. The wind scythes your face at the rim, cleaving tears from your eyes, freezing them to beads of glass that click when you blink. Stars blink cold as nails driven through black hide. The moon swells fat and white, a coin clenched in a fist of storm. The lean-to squats low, crouched like a hound licking sores. Smoke threads thin from its bent roof, unraveling in the gale. Inside, the dark crouches thick, stitched with a rasp of lungs riddled with frost and filth. The fire sulks, an ember winking through ash like an eye gone blind. The pot yawns hollow. A man hacks red into his hands, stares at the stain with eyes dull as slate, then folds like sodden straw. No one moves. No one prays. Words are wind, and wind is death. You curl too, cloak rank with damp, straw rasping your cheek like a tongue of grit. The whisper hums soft as a mother crooning by a crib carved from bone. Tomorrow, little stone. Tomorrow the bridge stands, and you fall. Soft, sweet, deep. Sleep slides over you, black and thick, dragging you under through water slick as oil. The river coils there, whispering through teeth white as frost. The bridge gleams above, whole at last, white as a skull, its arch bending like a spine snapped clean. Faces bloom from its mortar, lips cracked wide in grins that gape like wounds. And at its crown you stand, hands empty, eyes blind as milk. The whisper curls from your mouth like smoke. Come. You wake choking on that word, heart thrashing like a bird in a snare. The fire is ash. The dark lies thick as grave soil. Outside, the wind sobs long through the ribs of the trees, and under it, soft as silk drawn slow through a ring, the whisper winds through your bones. Tomorrow is the last day. Tomorrow, you lay yourself where stone lies fast, and this time, you do not fight it. You mouth the word like a prayer, and in its bitter sweetness, find the peace of an open grave. The horn drags you from the black, tearing through the last rag of dream, where the river curled and crooned beneath a sky sown with nails of frost. Its cry is hollow, long, a sound fit for summoning the dead. And perhaps it does, for the lean-to stirs like a graveyard in storm. Men groan, bodies creak, joints grinding like rotted hinges. One shape does not rise. His face glares white in the torch glow, lips blue ropes in a mask that holds no breath. They haul him out feet first, dump him into the drift, where the wind will shroud him. The snow drinks men faster than earth in winter. You rise slow, ribs rasping under a hide tight as rawhide, cloak stiff with rime, boots heavy as millstones. The air in the hut is clotted with the stink of fear and straw rank with urine. Your belly caves inward like a bowl gnawed by rats. There is no bread, no broth, only the memory of taste chewing the root of your tongue. And under it all, the whisper. Soft as a worm turning in sod, patient as rot in oak. One breath more, one step more, then silence, Then the weight slips from your bones. Outside, the wind gnaws raw at your cheeks, scouring skin till it feels peeled to red meat. The sky leans low, thick with cloud-bruised purple as a drowned man's lips. The snow squeals brittle under boots, a white skin stretched tight across black earth. Ahead, the pit yawns, black and blind, teeth of frost rimming its jaw. Smoke unravels thin from torches spiked along the lip, their flames shuddering in the gale. The ladder gapes. You grip its rungs with claws of cracked flesh, blood worming from seams in your skin. Down you go, into the throat of the world, where the dark smells of rust and old sweat, and the torches spit greasy light on stone ribs veined with scars. The overseer stands hunched on the ledge, lash writhing slow, in his fist, like something alive. His eyes gleam small and cold as hammered nails. His voice grates like cartwheels on gravel. Last span today. No man leaves till it stands. The Lord's feast waits, and so does the lash. His words clang through the shaft like iron flung on iron. Men bend their heads. Picks rasp from the muck. Hafts black with gore where old blisters split. You heft yours, and the wood bites your palm like teeth. The work begins with a cry that dies quick in the roar of iron on stone. The rhythm eats the hours. Lift, swing, strike. Lift, swing, strike. Dust clouds choke your throat, thick as gruel you'll never taste. Frost sleets in from the pit's mouth, needling flesh raw, clinging to your beard in fangs of ice. Breath saws from your lungs, hacking your ribs to splinters. Bloodworms slick from your palms, and the haft grins black with sweat and gore. Still you swing. Still the whisper weaves its thread through the clang, stroking the hollow of your skull like fingers slick with honey. Last day, last stone, then black water warm as lamb's wool, then sleep deep as winter earth. You do not fear it now. You court it. You cradle it like an ember under ribs grown hollow with hunger. Even when the lash hisses through the air, snapping meat from a backbent double, you do not flinch. The cry rings thin as glass splintering in frost. The overseer curses, voice raw with rage. You keep your arms in motion, though the muscles scream and bones groan like green wood in fire. Because the whisper hums, velvet and venom. Better the fall than the rope. Better the river than fire biting your spine. Light drains from the pit like blood from a slit throat. The torches gutter low, coughing black smoke that slicks the walls with soot. The horn bawls, raw as a crow's cry, and you climb. The rungs rasp under boots, slick with ice and gore. Your hands smear black where old wounds gape wide. But pain is a ghost now, a shadow whose teeth you no longer feel. The wind meets you at the rim like a blade swung broadside, scouring tears from your eyes and freezing them to beads that click like seeds when you blink. The moon swells pale and fat, a coin gripped in a sky's dead fist. The lean-to squats under the lash of storm, hunched like a dog cringing from blows. Inside, the dark crouches thick, stitched with the wheeze of lungs rotting from frost and dust. The fire sulks low, a smear of red and ash. The pot yawns hollow, its gut black with grease stiff as horn. Men curl in silence, shadows knotted in straw. One mutters prayers through teeth gray with grime. Another hacks till crimson spatters his wrists like berries crushed on snow. You curl, too. And the whisper slides through the dark like a knife drawn slow from a sheath of silk. Tomorrow, little stone. Tomorrow, the bridge is whole, and you are free. Sleep sucks you down like a whirlpool, into black water slick as pitch. The river waits there, whispering through teeth white as frost, coiling under a sky nailed with ice. The bridge gleams above, white as a saint's skull, its span whole at last. At its crown stands a shape in a cloak sewn from shadow. When it turns, you see your own face, lips blue, eyes blind and wide. Smoke curls from its mouth, shaping the word that throbs like a drum in your blood. Come. You wake gagging on it, heart thrashing in your ribs like a fish in a creel. The wind sobs through the gaps, low as a mother keening over a crib of bone. And under it, soft as silk steeped in rot, the whisper hums in your marrow. Tomorrow is the last climb, and you know, as sure as frost will gnaw the fields bare, that tomorrow you do not climb to labor. You climb to fall. The horn doesn't startle you this time. It groans through, to the dark, like an old tree splitting under ice. And you are already awake, eyes wide, breath ghosting into the cold. Sleep fled hours ago, driven out by the whisper that wound soft as smoke through your skull, curling its fingers in the hollow where thought once lived. You lie listening to men stir in the straw. Grunts, coughs like saws rasping through sodden beams. The faint rattle of breath in chests hollowed by frost and dust. One man does not stir. His lips gape black in a beard rimed white. His face shines with the waxen bloom of meat gone cold. Two shapes drag him out. You do not watch. Death is as common as sleet now. You rise slow, bones grating like millstones worn to grit, joints crackling loud as kindling. The cloak clings stiff and sour on your back, stiff as a corpse's hide. Your belly sags inward, ribs flaring like the hoops of an empty barrel. There will be no food before the pit. There is never food before the pit. Hunger has eaten its own teeth in you. Outside, the wind slashes like a whetted blade, tearing the breath from your lungs, flaying your cheeks raw till they sting like salt scoured on a wound. The snow crunches under boots, crusted thick and brittle, a white lid sealing a graveyard earth. The sky stoops low, black and bruised, bloated with storm. Ahead, the pit yawns wide, its lip jagged with teeth of frost. Torches gutter in the gale, spitting greasy tongues of flame that smear their light on stone slick with rime. You grip the ladder. Its rungs grin with ice. Your fingers close on them like claws, cracking where the blood seeps black from seams in the skin. Down you go, boots screeching on wood slick as marrow. The pit swallows you whole. The air closes thick, damp as a shroud wrung from a corpse. Shadows lurch in the corners when the torchlight reels. The walls sweat frost, veined with iron scars gnawed by picks till they gape like wounds stuffed with night. The overseer crouches on the ledge, lash coiled in his fist like a serpent dreaming of blood. His eyes gleam hard as flints, bright with the small, hot joy of cruelty. His voice scrapes the hollow like a saw through wet bone. Last course. Lay it fast. The Lord feast by dusk, and the bridge will bear his boots, or I'll flay the marrow from your backs. His words clang against the dark, sparks spitting in the silence, but you do not feel them bite. Because the whisper hums louder, warm as wine spilled on frost. Last stone, little lamb. Last breath. Then dark water deep as sleep. Then peace soft as snow on an open grave. You swing, and the pick snarls sparks from the stone. The shock jars your bones to splinters. Frost needles your lids till they weep. Your breath rasps through your teeth, each gasp a claw scraping raw at your throat. Sweat slicks your spine, freezing where it seeps. Blood worms from your palms, dribbles black down the haft. Still you swing. Still the rhythm drums. Lift, strike, gasp. Lift, strike, gasp, until thought blurs to a smear of gray, and only the whisper threads the clang of iron and the grunt of beasts driven to the wheel. One more. Then, let go. Let the cold cradle you, like a mother's breast pressed white with milk. The man who once held you back from the rim crouches close. His breath, hitching. breaking in sobs that sound like prayer twisted on a rack. His hands scrabble at the stone like claws in rotten bark. When his pick slips, it clatters thin as glass across the muck. He stoops, fingers fumbling, knees sagging like ropes rotted through. His eyes flare wild, hollow lamps drowning in soot. You see it in him now, what writhes in you. The whisper winding through marrow, purring under ribs. He mouths something. You cannot hear, because the lash speaks first. A hiss sharp as steam, a crack like a rib splitting, and his cry shreds the air, raw as sinew torn from bone. You do not flinch. You do not look, because the whisper croons low. Better the fall than the rope. Better the river than fire kissing your spine. The horn balls halt. A sound fat as carrion crows feasting on a field of skulls. You drop the pick. It slumps in the muck, black with blood and stone grit. You climb. The rungs rasp under your boots, shriek under your weight, which is nothing now but bones rattling in a sack of meat. Blood greases the wood from your hands. The wind slams you at the rim, ripping tears from your eyes and freezing them to beads of glass that click like seeds when you blink. The sky yawns black and bottomless, and the moon bulges white as a blind eye, leering over the hills like a coin clutched in a dead man's palm. The lean-to stoops under the lash of storm, smoke unraveling thin as thread from its crooked jaw. Inside, the dark crouches thick with the stink of fear and phlegm. The fire squats low, a red worm writhing in a nest of ash. The pot yawns, hollow, its belly black as a monk's hood. Men sprawl like carcasses, their coughs soft as claws scratching at a coffin lid. You curl in straw wet with piss and blood, cloak clinging clammy as a flayed hide, and the whisper folds you close, crooning through teeth white as frost. Tomorrow, little stone. Tomorrow you lay yourself where the bridge bends white against the sky. Tomorrow you fall, and the weight slides from your bones like wool sheared from a sheep. Sleep drags you down through black water slick as pitch. The river writhes there, whispering sweet through jaws pale as moonlight. The bridge rears above, whole at last, its arch grinning wide, its spine bristling with faces slick with rime. Faces you know, lips cracked in grins sharp as glass. And at its crown, a shape waits, hood drawn low. When it lifts its head, you see your own mouth open, smoke billowing like breath in frost. The whisper slides from it like silk steeped in blood. Come. You wake gagging on that word, eyes wide, heart thrashing like a rat trapped in a sack. The wind keens low through the chinks, thin as a widow's wail. And beneath it, soft, patient, velvet as moss on stone, the whisper hums in your marrow. Tomorrow is the last climb, and for the first time, the thought does not claw, does not bite. It soothes. The horn does not wake you. You lie already awake, staring at the black above, the whisper filling your skull like smoke filling a flue. Around you, men stir, shapes hunched and creaking, groans rasping out of throats raw as stripped bark. One shape does not rise. His eyes glare pale as moonlit puddles, fixed on a roof they will never see again. His jaw sags wide in a silent moan, rhymed stiff with frost. They haul him out by the heels. The straw, where he lay, is stiff with piss gone to ice. You rise slow, bones screaming, sinews shrieking like ropes drawn too taut. The cloak hangs on your back, stiff as a board, sour as old tallow. Your boots gape at the seams. The cold slinks through every crack, licking your marrow till your teeth chatter in a skull that feels hollow as a gourd. Hunger gnaws, but it is a dull old tooth now, ground to the gum by weeks of famine. The whisper feeds you in its stead. One more dawn, little lamb. One breath more. Then black water wide as heaven. Then the quiet folds over you like snow. Outside, The wind saws the flesh from your bones, gnashing your cheeks till they weep clear tears that freeze in beads and click like seeds when you blink. The sky droops low, bloated gray, veined with streaks of iron light. The snow squeals thin under your boots, a white skin stretched across the face of a grave. Ahead yawns the pit, black and wide as a wolf's jaw, rimmed with teeth of frost that grin blue in the dawn's bruise. You grip the ladder. The rungs leer slick as fat. Your hands close, skin splitting like bark in frost. Blood worms black from seams in the flesh, crusting quick in the gale. Down you go, boots shrieking on wood, breath rasping like a saw in your throat. The pit swallows you whole. The air closes thick and wet, sour with old sweat and the reek of damp stone. Shadows twitch like dogs in the torch glow. The walls bulge pale, veined with scars gnawed by picks till they gape like wounds stuffed with night. The overseer stands on the ledge, lash coiled in his fist like a worm drunk on blood. His eyes glitter small and bright as nails hammered in frost. His voice splits the hollow like an axe sunk in green wood. Last course today. Hear me. Last. The bridge will bear the Lord's boots before the moon climbs high, or I'll strip your hides to line my hood. His words clang like hammers, ringing in your skull till the bone hums. But the whisper hums louder, slick as oil on water. Last climb. Last stone. Then the dark spreads soft as fleece and warm as milk spilled in snow. You swing. The pick snarls sparks from the stone, jars your bones like bolts rammed through green timber. Your wrists burn. Your arms creak. Your lungs rasp like bellows with torn leather. Blood slicks the haft, black as pitch. Sweat worms down your spine, freezing where it runs. The rhythm eats the hours. Lift, strike, gasp. Lift, strike, gasp. Until thought buckles, and only the whisper walks with you, stroking your skull with hands cold and kind. You have given days. Give one breath more. Then sleep, deep as a saint in his tomb. The man who once stayed your step works close. His breath rasps like a saw through sodden wood. His back jerks in spasms, each swing a shudder through the husk of him. His pick clatters once, twice. He stoops, fingers fumbling, knees sagging like ropes frayed through. His eyes flare, wild lamps drowning in soot. And you see the worm in him, curling where it curls in you. He mouths a word. You cannot hear, because the lash speaks first, a hiss sharp as steam, a snap like a bone split clean. His cry rips raw from the root of him, ringing thin as glass in frost. You do not turn. You do not blink, because the whisper hums under the scream like a psalm, crooned low. Better the river than the rope. Better black water than fire kissing your spine. Light leaches out of the pit slow as blood from a slit throat. The horn balls halt, a roar thick with wind and iron. You climb. The rungs rasp, teeth gnawing your palms. Blood greases the wood, black as a crow's wing in the torch glow. The wind slams you at the rim, a blade cleaving marrow from bone. The sky sprawls black and blind, and the moon bulges pale and fat, a coin gripped in a dead hand. The lean-to stoops low under the lash of sleet. Inside, the dark crouches thick with the stench of breath gone sour, lungs rasping like bellows clogged with soot. The fire squats low, a worm of red curled in ash. The pot yawns hollow, its gut black as a monk's hood. Men curl in straw clotted with piss and frost, eyes glimmering dull as lead. No words. Words are wind, and wind kills. You curl too, cloak clinging rank as flayed hide, and the whisper slides in close, lips brushing the bone behind your ear. Tomorrow, little stone. Tomorrow you climb the rim, and you do not climb back. Tomorrow the weight slides from your shoulders, and the dark takes you soft as snow on a naked field. Sleep drags you through black water slick as pitch, The river coils there, whispering through jaws white as frost, curling under a sky sown with nails of ice. The bridge gleams above, arch grinning wide, its spine bristling with faces worn smooth by death. You stand at its crown, hands empty, eyes blind as milk. Smoke boils from your mouth like breath in frost, shaping the word that throbs like a bell in your blood. Come. You wake with that word seared on your tongue like iron pressed to flesh. The fire is ash. The wind keens through the cracks like a widow's wail. And under it, velvet, patient, sweet as wormwood steeped in honey, the whisper hums in your marrow. Tomorrow is the last dawn. And this time, the thought does not chill. It warms. The last dawn crawls gray across the sky, thin as gruel scraped from a cracked bowl. The horn balls once, a cry hollow as the belly of a starved ox, and then silence slams down hard. You do not startle. You have been awake for hours, staring at the black rafters, counting the rasp of breath from men sprawled like sacks of rotten grain around you. One does not breathe. His face glares white in the torch smear, lips black and cracked like seams in frozen earth. They haul him out feet first, leave him for wolves or wind. You do not watch. Death is old news now, a bell that tolls till the ear turns deaf. You rise slow, because the bones grind like grit, because the sinews rasp like ropes chewed by rats. The cloak hangs stiff as a plank on your shoulders, reeks of sweat soured to pitch. Boots gape at the seams, leather peeled like bark. Frost slivers in the straw, crunches underfoot like old bones. Your belly yawns hollow, and hunger gnaws, but its teeth are worn blunt. It can only gum at you now. The whisper fills the hollow where the bite once burned. One climb more, one breath more, then black water soft as wool, then rest deep as root. Outside, the wind knives through the gray, sawing your cheeks raw, clawing your beard till ice fangs glitter white in its coils. The sky hangs low, bellied with storm, bruised purple as a corpse left to bloat in thaw. Snow rasps thin under your boots, squealing sharp as glass splintered underfoot. Ahead yawns the pit, a throat gaping black through the crust of the world, rimmed with teeth of frost that grin blue in the dawn. The ladder leers long and black down the shaft. You grip the rungs. Ice grits under your nails. Blood worms from cracks in your palms, crusts black before it drops. Down you go, boots skidding, breath smoking like the soul of a sinner dragged to the pit. The hollow closes on you, thick as a throat swallowing. Damp clots the air, sour with old sweat and the musk of stone sweating under frost. Torches gutter, coughing black smoke that slicks the walls like tar. The scars of picks gape pale, like ribs gnawed clean by wolves. The overseer squats on the ledge, lash coiled loose in his fist, like a worm drunk on blood. His eyes glint small as nail heads, cold as coins clenched in a dead palm. His voice cleaves the hollow like an axe splitting green wood. Lay the last. Do you hear? The Lord feasts at moonrise, and the bridge will bear his boots if your backs break like twigs. Swing, you curs. Swing till the marrow leaks from your bones. The words clang like hammers in your skull, but the whisper hums louder, sweet as rot in fruit. Last stone, little lamb. Last breath. Then the dark folds you soft as fleece. Then no more lash, no more wheel. Only stillness under black water wide as the sky. You swing. The pick snarls sparks from the stone, jars your bones till your teeth chatter like dice in a bone cup. The haft grins black with blood and sweat. Your lungs rasp like bellows worn to shreds. Your breath clawing at a throat lined with knives. Frost needles your lashes, clogs your beard in white claws. Splinters sting your cheeks like gnats in summer. If summer still lives beyond this frozen grave. The rhythm chews you hollow. Lift, Strike, gasp, lift, strike, gasp, until thought gutters like a wick drowned in tallow, and only the whisper glows soft in the dark. One more swing, one more step, then rest. Deep, sweet, silent. Hours slip like guts through a butcher's fist. The horn does not bawl. The overseer snarls, voice raw as a skinned throat. Faster curs, the moon climbs, faster. The lash hisses like a serpent striking blind. It bites a backbent double. Flesh splits wet. A cry rips thin as a reed in wind. You do not turn. You do not blink. Because the whisper croons low, warm as blood spilled on snow. Better the fall than the rope. Better black water than fire licking your spine. Light leaks out of the shaft slow as blood from a slit throat. Torches flare and gutter, spit and die. The overseer howls through the dark, his voice cracking like old beams in frost. Men grunt and sob, picks gnash till teeth shiver from jaws. The last stone thuds in place. You feel it through your boots. A dull knock, like a door closing on the world. The lash stops. Silence sprawls heavy, fat as a corpse bloated in a ditch. You climb. Slow. Slow. Each rung, a rib under your hands. Blood smears the wood, black as pitch. The wind slams your face at the rim, cleaving tears from your eyes and freezing them to beads that clink when you blink. The sky sprawls black, nailed with stars cold as coins, hammered thin. The moon bulges white and blind, a skull grinning wide in the vault of night. The lean-to squats low, hunched under sleet. Inside, the fire sulks, a worm of red curled in ash. The pot yawns hollow, its belly black as famine. Men curl like roots gnawed by frost. Breath rasps. One moans, a sound thin as a reed whining under gale. Another coughs till red spatters the straw bright as berries spilled in snow. You curl too, but sleep does not creep. It strikes, sudden and black, dragging you under through water slick as oil. The river writhes there, whispering through teeth white as frost, curling under a sky nailed with iron. The bridge gleams above, arch grinning like a skull split wide. Faces bloom in its spine, grinning cracks stuffed with night. And at its crown, a shape waits, hood drawn low. When it lifts its head, you see your own mouth open, smoke boiling out like breath in frost, shaping the word that thrums like a bell in your blood. Come. You wake with that word clamped in your teeth like a coin for Karen. The wind keens through the chinks, a dirge long and low. And under it, soft as silk drawn through bone, the whisper hums in your marrow. Tomorrow is the last climb, and this time it is not promise, it is law. Morning does not dawn so much as seep like gray gruel through the slats of the lean-to. The horn splits the stillness with a scream raw as a gut-strung bow, and men rouse like sacks of meal jostled in a cart. Stiff, sagging, hollow. One shape does not rise. His face grins wide in a rictus that is not mirth. His eyes white marbles under lids gnawed by frost. They drag him out by the heels, boots rasping, straw clinging to his hair like withered grass to a skull. You do not watch. The pit takes all in time, and wolves keep no tally. You rise because the lash waits, because the whisper drives its worm through your marrow, crooning in a voice sweet as honey soured in the comb. One more climb, little lamb. One more breath. Then the black water closes like arms. Then the weight slips away like wool from a sheared sheep. The cloak hangs stiff with rime, heavy as a wet shroud. The boots gape at the seams, leather stiff as horn. The wind outside slashes like a whetted blade, combing icy fingers through your beard till it bristles white as a dead saint's hair. The sky crouches low, swollen with storm, bruised purple as rot in a wound. Snow rasps under your boots, squeals thin and sharp. A cry trapped in a throat too cold to loose its last note. The pit gapes ahead. A black maw frothing mist, rimmed with teeth of frost, that grin blue in the bruise light. The torches gutter in their sockets, coughing greasy smoke that slathers the stone ribs in streaks of pitch. The ladder sprawls down, ribs slick with rime, grin wide as the gallows. You grip its rungs. Your hands crack and bleed. The blood steams black in the breath of the wind, then freezes into beads hard as iron. Down you go, into the earth's throat, down where the dark squats thick as tallow, where the air reeks of sweat, steeped in stone, and prayers rot unsaid. The overseer stands on the ledge, lash twitching in his fist like a worm that smells blood. His eyes glitter small as beads hacked from bone, his teeth grinning white in a mass split by rage. His voice carves the hollow raw. The Lord feasts at moonrise. The bridge will bear his boots, or I'll flay your backs for laces. Swing, curs, swing till your arms tear from your shoulders. His words clang like iron struck on skull. But the whisper hums warmer, stroking your ears like a mother's palm slick with milk. Last breath, lamb. Last stone. Then the dark folds you soft as fleece, deep as a saint in his tomb. You swing. The pick shrieks, snarling sparks from stone. The shock jars your bones till they creak like rafters in a gale. Frost gnaws your lashes, blinds you in veils white as winding cloth. Your breath rasps raw, each gasp a claw raking your throat. Sweat worms down your spine, freezing where it runs. Blood slicks the haft, black and sticky as tar. Still you swing. Still the rhythm gnaws. Lift, strike, gasp. Lift, strike, gasp. Until thought buckles, and only the whisper hums in the hollow behind your eyes. One more swing. One more step. Then the weight slides off like sod from a spade. The man who once stayed your foot stoops close, his breath rasping, broken as a bellows torn at the seam. His back jerks in fits, arms flailing like ropes whipped by wind. His pick clatters thin as glass, rings once, then lies black in the muck. He does not stoop to lift it. He sinks instead, knees folding like sodden reeds. His head tilts back, his mouth gapes wide, sucking the dark. The overseer's lash speaks sharp, a hiss like steam, a crack like bone split green. The blow splits his coat. Flesh flowers red. He jerks, shudders, and lies still as frost. The lash hisses again, but he does not stir. And you do not turn, because the whisper croons low, soft as wool steeped in warm blood. Better the fall than the rope. Better black water than fire biting your spine. The horn balls halt, a cry thick with storm. You drop the pick. Its teeth grin black in the torch smear. You climb, slow, slow as a worm corkscrewing through sod. The rungs rasp, tear strips from your palms. Blood slicks the wood, smears black as crow wings. The wind smashes your face at the rim, cleaving tears from your eyes, freezing them to beads that clink when you blink. The sky sprawls black and blind, nailed with stars cold as iron. The moon swells fat, a white coin gripped in the fist of night. The lean-to squats low, hunched like a cur whipped to heel. Inside, the dark crouches heavy with the stench of straw, rank with piss, of lungs wheezing like bellows soaked in brine. The fire squats low, a red worm curling in a nest of ash. The pot yawns hollow, its gut black with famine. Men sprawl like roots gnawed bare by frost. One hacks crimson, bright as berries on snow. Another mutters prayers that drip from his lips like fat from a cold spit. You curl in straw hard as iron. The cloak clings damp and stiff as a skin peeled raw. And the whisper slides through the black like a tongue through teeth white as frost. Tomorrow, little stone. Tomorrow you climb, and you do not climb back. Tomorrow the dark kisses your bones, and the river closes its arms. Sleep drags you through black water slick as oil. The river writhes there, whispering through jaws grinning wide. The bridge rears white as bone under a sky nailed with iron stars. Faces bloom in its spine, mouths yawning, teeth glinting like shards in snow. And at its crown, a shape waits, hood drawn low. When it lifts its head, you see your own eyes staring blind as glass, your own mouth shaping the word that throbs like a drum in your blood. Come. You wake with that word burning your tongue like iron pressed to flesh. The fire is dead. The wind keens through the cracks like a mother wailing over a crib carved from bone. And under it, soft, patient, sweet as rot, steeped in honey, the whisper hums in your marrow. Tomorrow is the last dawn, and you smile. For the first time, you smile. The last dawn does not break. It seeps, pale and sour, through a sky stretched tight as a dead man's hide. The horn balls, raw as a throat flayed open, and its echo claws the black rafters of the lean-to. Men stir like sacks of grain gnawed by rats. One shape does not move. His jaw hangs slack, lips rimed blue, eyes bulging white as river stones. They drag him out without words. The snow will drink him, and wolves will hymn his passing. Death is a drum that beats till you hear nothing but its thud. You rise because the lash waits, or perhaps because the whisper winds through your ribs like a serpent seeking warmth. The cloak hangs stiff as a frozen shroud. Your boots gape at the seams, rimed white as teeth. Your belly yawns hollow, caved inward like a trough sucked dry. Hunger is no longer pain. It is a shadow crouched in the corners of your skull. And the whisper strokes its fur, crooning in a voice soft as wool soaked in blood. One more climb, lamb. One more breath. Then the weight slides from your bones like sod from a spade. Then black water closes its arms, and silence folds you soft as snow. Outside, the wind hacks at your flesh like knives whetted on ice. It saws your beard till frost clots it stiff as iron wire. The sky hangs low, swollen gray, bruised purple where the storm broods. The snow rasps thin under your boots, squealing like a soul snagged on the nail of a saint. Ahead yawns the pit, black, blind, rimmed with teeth of frost blue as a drowned man's lips. Torches gutter on their spits, coughing smoke black as pitch. The ladder leers down, slick as a tongue in a jaw of bone. You grip its rungs. Blood beads black where the cracks gape in your palms. Down you go, boots rasping, breath smoking like prayers snuffed in a church of stone. The pit swallows you. The air closes, thick as grave soil. Damp clots in your beard, clings in the seams of your boots. Shadows twitch when the torchlight reels. The walls sweat frost, streaked with scars where picks have bitten deep, and teeth have clenched prayers unsaid. The overseer squats on the ledge, lash writhing slow in his fist like a worm drunk on blood. His grin gapes white as a split skull, and his voice scrapes the hollow raw. Last lift, lay it fast. The Lord feasts at moonrise, and the bridge will bear his boots or your backs will pay the tithe. The words clang in your skull like hammers tolling doom, but the whisper hums warm, sweeter than marrow sucked from bone. Last breath, lamb. Last stone. Then Blackwater deep as winter's root. Then no lash, no wheel, only stillness wide as sky. You swing. The pick snarls sparks, jars your bones till your teeth rattle like dice in a skull. The rhythm chews you hollow. Lift, strike, gasp. Lift, strike, gasp. Frost needles your lids, blinds you white as a winding cloth. Blood slicks the haft, black and sticky as tar. Breath rasps raw, ribs creaking like beams in fire. Still you swing. Still the whisper wins, soft as silk through teeth. One more stroke. One more step. Then rest deep as stone under sod. The horn balls, a note fat as a crow gorged on carrion. The last stone grinds into place with a thud that rings through your bones like a bell tolling the grave. Silence sprawls after, thick as tallow. broken only by the lash's hiss as the overseer spits his joy in curses. The bridge is whole, and you are hollow. You climb, slow, slow as rot crawling through timber, each rung rasping under palms raw and black. Blood slicks the wood, freezes in beads hard as seeds. The wind smashes your face at the rim, cleaves tears from your eyes, seals them in glass that clinks when you blink. The sky sprawls black and blind, nailed with stars cold as coins hammered flat. The moon swells pale and fat, a coin clenched in a dead hand, grinning white through a veil of storm. The lean-to crouches low, the lazur under the lash of sleet, roof hunched like a cur whipped to heel. Inside, the dark crouches thick with breath rank as a midden, lungs wheezing like bellows split by rust. The fire sulks, a red worm writhing in a nest of ash. The pot yawns hollow, its gut black with famine. Men sprawl like roots clawed bare by frost. One hacks crimson into his palms, stares at it dull as slate, then folds without sound. No one stirs. Words are wind. Wind kills. You curl in straw crusted stiff as horn, cloak clinging rank as flayed hide. And the whisper winds closer, lips brushing the bone behind your ear, crooning low as a wife to a husband bled white. Tomorrow, little stone. Tomorrow, the bridge bears the Lord's boots, and you bear nothing at all. Tomorrow, the black water kisses your bones, and silence swallows the lash. Sleep drags you down through black water slick as oil. The river writhes there, whispering through jaws, white as frost, curling under a sky nailed with iron stars. The bridge looms above, arch grinning wide as a skull. Faces bloom in its spine, mouths gaping, teeth glinting like shards in snow. And at its crown, a shape waits, hood drawn low. When it lifts its head, you see your own eyes staring blind, your own mouth shaping the word that throbs like a drum in your blood. Come. You wake with that word coiled on your tongue like a worm in rot. The wind keens through the cracks, a widow wailing over bones. And under it, soft, patient, velvet as moss on stone, the whisper hums in your marrow. Tomorrow is not dawn. Tomorrow is the end. And you smile, because for the first time, the thought does not bite. It blooms. The last morning seeps gray through the world, thin and bitter as broth, brewed from bones sucked dry. The horn balls, hollow as a skull struck with a stick, and its cry drags you up from black depths where the river coiled, whispering its litany. You rise slow, joints creaking like frost-split beams, ribs rasping under a hide tight as rawhide. The lean-to stirs, shapes groping through the gloom, breath steaming pale as ghosts. One man does not stir, his head lolled, jaw sagging wide, eyes filmed white like milk clotted in a bowl. They drag him out without speech. The snow will shroud him before the wolves tear his hymn from his bones. You do not shiver now. The cold gnaws, but its teeth are dulled against your flesh. Hunger crouches in you, but its claws are worn blunt. Pain hums low, a song you no longer hear. Only the whisper coils sharp, bright, clear as ice ringing in frost. This is the day, little stone. This is the breath that breaks the yoke. Today, the black water closes. Today, the weight falls away. You wrap the cloak stiff as bark around your shoulders. Its stench rises like smoke from a tallow dip, long guttered. Your boots gape wide at the seams, leaking snow till your toes burn, then numb. You step outside into a sky nailed with iron cloud, low as a coffin lid. The wind saws your cheeks raw, scours your lids with needles of sleet. Snow rasps thin under your boots, squealing sharp as a soul snagged on a hook. Ahead yawns the pit, black as a priest's hood, rimmed with teeth of frost that grin blue through the murk. The ladder sprawls down, ribs slick with rime, grinning wide as gallows beams. You grip its rungs. Skin splits. Blood beads black. Hardens quick in the gale. Down you go. Boots scraping. Breath gasping thin as a reed in wind. The pit swallows you. The air closes thick as sod. Damp clings like a winding sheet. The torches spit yellow grease, casting shadows that twitch like dogs on chains. Stone ribs loom pale, veined with scars gnawed by picks, with prayers frozen silent in cracks no tongue can reach. The overseer squats on the ledge, lash twitching in his fist like a snake tasting blood. His voice cleaves, the hollow, raw as a stump torn from soil. Bridge is laid. The Lord comes. Clear the waste. Level the span. Move. Curs. Move. His words clang in the dark, like a hammer ringing death. But the whisper hums sweeter, purring soft as a cat curling in your ribs. This is the hour. The black water opens its arms. The stones have drunk their fill. Now they drink you. You move because the lash hisses, but the pick hangs slack in your fist, teeth black with rust and blood. You watch shapes stagger through the gloom, hunched like roots clawing sodden earth. Breath smokes pale from their mouths, curls, dies. Their eyes gleam dull as pewter coins, their faces hollowed like bowls scraped bare. One coughs crimson, spatters stone with berries bright against the gray. Another sinks slow to his knees, head drooping like grain bent under sleet. The lash hisses. Flesh splits. Red wells. Steams. Darkens to black. No one cries now. Cries waste breath. The horn balls once more. A blast fat as a crow gorged on carrion. And then the lash falls silent. Silence crouches in the hollow, thick as tallow, sweet as rot. The work is done. The bridge sprawls white above the gorge, grinning under a sky nailed with stars blind as saints' eyes. You climb. Slow. Slow as rot crawling through bone. The rungs rasp under palms raw and black. Blood smears the wood, freezes in beads that clink like seeds in a skull. The wind smashes your face at the rim, claws tears from your eyes, hardens them to glass. And there it is. The bridge. White as a saint's shin bone, arching high, spine bristling with frost, like hairs on a dead dog's back. It hums under the wind, a sound thin and sweet, like a harp strung with gut. Below, the river writhes black, curling like a serpent under the moon. Its scales glimmer where ice plates its coils. It whispers, a sound soft as lips brushing bone. Come. Men crouch on the span, scraping muck, prizing clots of frost from seams. The overseer bawls, lash twitching, words slurred by wind. You hear nothing, only the river, only the whisper coiling sweet through your skull. Step, little stone. Step, and the weight falls like a husk from grain. Step, and the dark kisses you clean. You walk, slow. The wind claws your cloak, plucks it like fingers tearing wool from the back of a sheep. Your boots rasp white on the spine of the bridge. The river yawns black below, teeth of ice grinning in its jaw. The whisper purrs low, warm as blood spilled on snow. One more breath, lamb. One more. Then silence wide as sky. You reach the crown. The stones hum under your boots, thrumming like a drum deep in bone. You stand. The wind saws your ears raw. The moon glares white, fat as a coin nailed to the vault of night. The river writhes, whispering through teeth white as frost. And you smile. For the first time, you smile. You lift your arms, spread them wide as wings cut from hide. You close your eyes. The whisper swells, velvet and bright, singing in the hollow where your soul once curled. Come. You step. The wind roars up, black water yawns wide, and weight sloughs from you like flesh from bone in a frost-split grave. Cold closes like arms, sweet, silent, deep. The bridge hums on.